All right, so you're probably wondering why the thumbnail of this podcast 129, says Indian summer, and what does that have to do with real estate? And on the surface, it really deals with seasonality, and the market has already started cooling dramatically. Most people think that the real estate market is just in line with the summer, but it isn't. Most buyers that were serious about buying this year during peak season have either acquired their homes or have decided to rent or postpone. And so the heat is off the market. And the buyers that are still in the market and will continue to be in the market from now through December typically are more measured, they're more conservative, they're less likely to engage in bidding wars. And from their perspective, and we represent several of them who are currently in the market, it feels like they can be more patient. They can offer lower, they can wait if they can't come to terms with a seller versus being caught up in the frenzy of a bidding war. So from a buyer's perspective, we're entering into what I would have called an Indian summer type market where the weather's still really nice, and the leaves are changing and everything is beautiful. We've got cold nights and lemon yellow sunny days. And it was a term that I remember growing up very clearly from upstate New York. But what I was told by someone close to me is that this term might be offensive to people of a Native American origin. And I decided to ask AI. So this, if you're following frontier models, I actually asked Fable 5, which I guess some of you will probably be offended that I used Fable 5 for such a low level question.
Getting canceled is no low level question.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't think you can get canceled anymore. I think that everyone's decided that you can't. Anyway, I don't think you can get canceled anymore. Given who is not canceled.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think we can agree that canceling is no longer a thing. But I asked Fable, which is Claude's latest model, is it okay to still say Indian summer, or am I offending someone? And this is the answer. Short answer, you're probably fine in most contexts, but it's worth knowing the debate. Indian summer, that stretch of warm weather after the first frost, has been flagged as potentially problematic for a couple of reasons. The origin is murky, but some proposed etymologies are unflattering. One theory holds it comes from colonial settlers viewing Native Americans as unreliable, so an Indian summer was a false summer. Similar logic to clearly derogatory Indian giver. Other theories are neutral. It may simply refer to the season when Native peoples in the Northeast did late harvesting and hunting. Because nobody actually knows the origin, it's hard to definitively call it a slur or definitively clear it. And I think
that was good enough.
That was probably good enough to say it's okay to say Indian summer, but this is my opportunity to tell you that as someone of Indian origin, whose parents were born in a country called India, that Native Americans calling themselves Indian at some point in time is going to be no longer acceptable. And this is a high horse or a
soapbox,
a soapbox that
a hill
that I will die on. And I sort of laugh it off, and I've gotten into this debate with several people of Native American origin when they call themselves Indian. I ask them, where in India is your family from? Or what sort of Indian food do you cook? Like, what makes you Indian of Indian origin? And they just laugh it off. But it's sort of funny how Native people still call themselves Indian.
That's true. And I mean, because I'm thinking, they would be called American, right? Native Americans.
Native American makes sense to me.
Yeah, or just American. But that's been co-opted, I guess, by
or just American,
white man,
or Native. I think Native. Fable nailed it by not describing them as Indians.
Mm-hmm.
They very clearly described them as Native peoples.
Yeah,
which are not the same thing as the people with the bumper stickers that run around Colorado claiming to be Native.
Those guys. I don't. So you could just say local. I'm a local, right? A local is somebody.
Nobody's really.
But rather than saying I'm a native, like Coloradans that are born here say that they're natives.
I just get this. I just don't understand this strange pride of place that seems to affect some people, and they feel this identity pride that they didn't, based on whose body they were born from, that they had nothing to do with. I just don't understand it. And I don't understand it with the bumper stickers, and I don't understand it with people claiming how many generations they've been living in this state. Mm-hmm. I mean, the state's only been around since 1860.
That's true. I think like, and not to, I mean, maybe I'm taking the stance for them, but I'm not. It's because to my understanding that there's so many people moving in. They're like, well, look at me. I'm here before it was cool type of, it's a hipster thing almost.
Hopefully it's fading. I think everyone's sick of the native bumper sticker, but
yeah. Once it gets obnoxious,
we'll find out.
It starts to die down, hopefully.
All right. Well, let's circle back to real estate because we are going to talk about market conditions and how they may be swinging toward the buy side and how sellers should be thinking about what they might be doing to prepare for a much cooler market in the fall, higher interest rates, and more competition to attract a buyer. And we'll do that from a data perspective, which is usually how we roll at House Einstein. We don't just feel you how we think the market's doing. We talk about,
we learn you.
We go to the data. And the data at this point, August 12th for July, is pretty baked. So I think we did talk about it last week. We're going to hit the city of, we're going to hit Boulder County this time around. I will also add, as unfortunately I am a little sleep deprived. So if I sound fuzzy brained, please take that in mind. I got 4 hours of sleep last night, and it is something I'm working on. I think it has to do with not exercising as much as I used to because of this ankle injury. So now that I'm cleared for running, which I just had my first run this morning,
nice.
Per the PT, hopefully my sleep will improve. But with all of that said, welcome to the House Einstein podcast 129. I'm Osman Parvez. This is Hamish Crabb.
Hello. Welcome.
And let's go through our docket. Before we do, of course, we have to give you our little disclaimer. This podcast is entertainment. If you are a House Einstein client, just reach out to your House Einstein agent. If you're a prospective client or would like to learn more about what the brokerage does, you can find us at houseeinstein.com. House Einstein, the brokerage, is the sponsor of the podcast, but they are not the same as the podcast itself. This podcast is entertainment. Please don't make any important decisions on anything you hear. It's purely, we're just here to amuse you.
As you want to make important decisions based on what we say, reach out and see if we're a good fit for a client service relationship.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And until then, as Joe Pesci says, we're here to amuse. Well, he doesn't say that. He says, "What am I? Here to amuse you." Oh, you don't know this? Have you not seen Goodfellas?
Okay, I'll add it to.
Have you seriously not seen Goodfellas?
We've got a shared movie list, so I'll add it in there.
How is this possible? Okay, all right. Okay. Do you even know who Joe Pesci is?
No. Joe.
I'm just for those listening to the podcast. What you visualize my surprised look.
Yeah.
Sometimes the generational differences between Hamish and I catch me by surprise, and that would be one of those moments. Okay. Our docket for today, we're gonna do a post-mortem on a recent transaction. That's our closing table topic, and we're gonna go into some depth on what went right, what went wrong in this transaction, and also some of our takeaways for how we might deal with this circumstance in the future. Tales from the trenches. We will be talking about. This one's a little tricky because it's in play.
Yeah,
but it's so we will anonymize it to a great extent. So there's all these strange noises outside today.
Somebody's using the faucet out front.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, what are they using the faucet for?
I don't know.
I've never even heard anybody use that faucet before. What are these strange sounds? Okay, all right. Well,
it's always the recording day.
It's always I mean, it's the trash trucks. It's random noises outside.
Yeah.
So bear with us for that. So we'll be talking about
this Tales from the Trenches.
Yeah, it's really a super interesting start to a negotiation, and hopefully it will eventually result in us coming to a deal. But it's also a situation where our buyer is very much willing to walk away, and the listing agent's absolutely not helping it. And if only the seller knew what was happening behind the scenes, I think they would be rather disappointed in their choice of agent. So it's another one of those spectrum of competency conversations. Mm-hmm. But we'll go into specifics about that. And then we've got 6 properties in our sales of the week. And let me pull this up for you. We will be talking about 640 South 68th Street, which just closed for 9.5.
That's called Lodestar Ranch.
Lodestar Ranch. It's a home that was on the Hearth and Stone tour over a year ago, and that first agent got fired. Second agent worked it for a while, and then the property was pulled. We'll go into a lot more detail, but eventually it did attract a buyer and was sold, I think, off market. So it wasn't officially back on when the buyer locked it down. And there's some takeaways for that.
Yeah.
And then we've got two properties at very similar price points in Newlands that I think are worth a discussion. 3007 10th Street, which closed for 4.8 on August 7th, and 2675 Dakota Place, which closed for 4.1 on the same date. And then we'll be talking about 160 South 36th Street, which is a super interesting Martin Acres ranch that I think will be setting close to a high water mark at 1.2 for a ranch without a basement. And we'll talk about the reason why. And how some insider knowledge of what's marketed as open space might surprise you of what really is that space. So we'll talk. It's a warning for buyers that you really should. And I'm not saying it's a bad deal when we're going to get into it, but it is one of those things where you should really read the market language, the broker remarks, the public remarks with a keen eye to accuracy and vet. Trust but verify. So we'll be talking about that. And Hamish has
a good thumbnail too.
You don't even know what we're talking about, but I've got some detail there on what actually.
No, I know. I'm like, you're talking about 36th Street.
Yeah, I'm talking about 36th Street. Great location.
Yeah.
But is it really open space that it back to? Okay, 3280 Dartmouth Avenue, one of our most important clients, locked that down last week.
And he's also been gracious enough to share some details too.
We'll share some insider details on 3280 Dartmouth.
Yep.
Which is also in Martin Acres. And then our last one is 3601 Arapahoe Avenue, which is a unit at the Peloton on the third floor, facing west. Lovely view of the traffic over Arapahoe and the paint store. And luxury residence. It just closed for $845. And the Peloton, I've got a long history with the Peloton, so we'll be talking about the pros and cons of that development, as well as the massive amount of inventory that is currently on the market at the Peloton.
I was going to say that's sending you down a bit of a rabbit hole to see just how much inventory was currently for sale there.
A bit shocking, actually.
Pretty insane.
Quite a bit shocking.
Yeah.
And I think we'll contrast it a little bit with Gold Run, where we happen to have, and this is a good segue right to shameless self-promotion, we happen to have
good call.
A multiple client, I think it's 6 times if he does this transaction with us.
This is the Breckenridge client, right? That we sold.
We don't share any details, Hamish. You're giving away details.
Is that too much?
It's too much.
Oh,
we don't share too many details.
Cut point in.
But it is a client who has a property at Gold Run who might be interested in selling it. It is not officially on the market, but we know enough about it that I think I could talk about it. And if that interests you, please reach out and maybe we can put together a deal. In the news, our hot takes section, we're going to talk about the 4 measures that are on the November ballot. And the most recent council meeting where the Downtown Development Authority failed to get enough votes. It was a split decision, and Mark Wallach's resignation is already being felt because if he had been on council, it would have been clearly a yes or no, and instead it split, and that defaults to no.
Good point.
All right, and that will be our topics for today. Of course, we always have a carve-out, and my carve-out, well, I think we're just going to make you wait for our carve-out. You want?
Fair call.
Let's just tease them and say, I think you'll be enlightened. Maybe.
For Osmond.
Maybe you'll be entertained.
Maybe for mine.
Both. Maybe both.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's get into it. That was a long intro.
And that's probably because I'm sleep deprived.
Yeah. I mean, it was a friendly one. It
I'm
was
gonna
good.
Drink some coffee from Amante, our neighborhood coffee shop here at House Einstein.
However, non-sponsored, our sponsorship loyalty remains to House Einstein, the brokerage, not the podcast.
I know. I'm not wearing our merch, but Amante's coffee is great coffee, and Syncocept is now open. And I feel like promoting Uptown is something we can do because it's such a great location.
Yeah.
And it's getting better. There was a lot of fear over the library, and those fears I think are largely gone. So anyway, Amante's fine. Trident is still my My favorite.
And then there's the whole Bomoka and everything happening North Boulder soon.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's gonna keep
we're keeping an eye on it.
Well, hopefully the whole our location here keeps getting better.
Without derailing too much, do you think we'll get a supermarket up here sometime?
I think there's actual structural reasons why we can't, including when the subdivision of Uptown was created, where the library is, they prohibited a grocery store. Yeah.
A food desert by design?
By design.
Oh my God.
Yeah, by their title constraints about putting in a grocery store there. They intentionally tried to avoid a grocery store up here.
That's insane.
And now we're trying to figure out how do you squeeze one in. It's totally a food desert up here.
And that's one of the biggest complaints I hear about it is, I mean, Lucky's isn't complaining, but anywhere else, there's a carniceria down the street if you like meat, but
And that's going to go away when Bomoka.
Yeah.
And if you like, and it's not just that, they've got great
sure.
Latino grocery store has got great stuff.
Yeah. Might step through.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. Post-mortem.
This podcast is sponsored by House Einstein. We serve buyers and sellers in Colorado, focusing on Boulder, Denver, and several mountain resort towns, including Breckenridge and Winter Park. Our mission is simple: help you make a smarter real estate decision. You can learn more at houseeinstein.com or our YouTube channel, where you'll find videos on neighborhoods, specific listings, and much, much more.
How do you want to bring this one in?
Well, we just closed on 927 Hover Ridge Circle. So that's the actual address of the property. And it's a really unusual property in that it is legally a condo. So this is a detached single-family house. You look at it, it looks like a normal house, but it's part of an association that had a pretty high monthly due. And in exchange for that, they took care of the exterior, they took care of the roof, they took care of the landscaping around the property, but not in the enclosed backyard. I think that might be
They
yours.
even offered to take care of the inside.
Inside the fence?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Okay, so exterior landscaping is included. And of course, let's caveat this that this is recollection, right? So if you're the buyer of this property and we missed something here, we're not redoing that.
Yeah, good point.
But snow removal on the sidewalks and that sort of thing is all part of the association dues, but they're expensive. And most people have a mental model of when they buy a single family house, they might have an association due, but it's quarterly, it's de minimis, it's to keep some landscaping looking pretty, that's part of the commons.
Yeah.
But taking care of the entire exterior and the roof and paying a hazard insurance on the outer walls is something that is not in the wheelhouse or mental model of most real estate buyers. And this caught us a little bit off guard because it resulted in a much longer listing than I anticipated.
Yeah.
And that's because the buyer pool. So this is the take home lesson for you as a listener or viewer. When you go to buy a property, if you choose something that is not in the targets of the majority of the market, when you go to sell this property, you could have a very long listing period. And this is one of the value adds your agent can bring. They should be warning you that what you're about to buy might be perfect for you. You might be completely in love with it, but you may pay a penalty when you go to sell this someday. And I hope you call us when you go to sell it. But when you do, I want you to know it could be a long listing because even though this is perfect for you, it appeals to a very small segment of the market.
Could be quite painful of a selling process, right? And same thing is like, it doesn't appeal to everyone, so you might find it as a deal when you were a buyer. You might have to give that same deal when you go to sell it, right? You might be, it'll be more difficult to sell. So,
well, how do you comp it, right?
Right.
So initially we started by comping it to single family houses that had lower HOAs and then we did an adjustment on the value of the HOA, or really the decreased purchasing power that the HOA dues monthly would be pulling down from a buyer that is looking at it as what's the purchasing power is a decisive factor in this price range, right? The monthly payment. So we looked at it that way after we had it on the market a while. We thought our initial stab was, well, people will understand that there's a trade-off, right? You're paying whatever the number was, like $450 a month or $500 a month.
Around there.
You're paying that, but you're also not mowing your own lawn. You're also not replacing your roof. You're also, I think water might have even been water was included. So there are all these things that your monthly insurance cost is lower. but that's not how buyers view it at all.
Yeah, it requires, I think, a little bit of additional mental work from the buyer to even wrap their head around, okay, if I'm spending a little bit more here, maybe I'm spending a little bit less here, and my monthly payment kind of nets out, right?
I mean, this was something I remember in my startup days, and that was every time you introduce a new way of thinking or have to explain why something is better, it's not obvious to the consumer, you're creating a hurdle in the process. And those hurdles are objections that need to be overcome, and those objections often aren't overcome. You're often struggling to overcome them. And even though this was a great house with a really interesting design, 3 bedrooms up top, 2 bedrooms in the basement, really lovely. Or was it 3 bedrooms in the basement?
2 up top, 3 in the basement.
2 up top, 3 in the basement.
But the loft was really readily...
Could have been another bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very spacious, family-friendly house. It still didn't appeal to the what I would call the majority of the market. I almost said the meat of the market, but we're in Boulder, so
you're going to say the masses.
Tofu of the market, or whatever you want to call it.
And you know what? I mean, maybe it's not so much on the post-mortem. I think that we're looking within, but the MLS doesn't really make it easy for you to communicate specifics about like an HOA or something to that effect, right? Putting yourself in a buyer's shoes, you might be completely fine with this type of HOA structure, especially considering the benefits that you get out of it. But I mean, man, there's no way to put that in as a specific criteria.
Not as a field, but in the listing description. That's where we sold the HOA.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of being on the defensive about the HOA, we went on the positive side and really hit hard on look at all the great things this HOA provides.
Yeah. And I still believe that the HOA is great. Like,
I think the HOA is great
sold,
too.
and I'm not like, you know what? But no.
I mean, this little office condo has a higher HOA than that product. They're right neck and neck. Like, we get nothing here, and they get a lot for.
We get our emails ignored here. That's something to write home.
We do get our emails ignored here.
But no, exactly. Like there's value out of that HOA, and we did sell it in the listing description. We also, and part of the postmortem, towards the end, our seller had a packet kind of outlining exactly where your money went for the HOA and how they worked it out. So, yeah.
So the other lesson is if you have something like that, it would be better to get all that marketing material up front. And it just didn't occur to us that this was such a mental hurdle for buyers to get their head around. But as the deal went on, or as the listing went on, and we got one offer that was pretty low, and then they bailed for random reasons. And then we got another buyer who eventually closed. Very similar demographic of people, a little on the older side, and had real estate of their own, where they did all the maintenance, right? So if you've done the maintenance yourself for decades, you suddenly value your free time a lot more than you value the $450 a month. So that's who the target audience ended up being. And we did have one more round of price adjustments where we realized that there are several townhomes that are attached with...
Is that our people?
It's not our people.
Okay.
With very similar... couple of townhomes that are attached with very similar associations and square footage, just no backyard. But this also didn't have much, like, it doesn't have a big spacious backyard.
Like a token
it's like
yard.
a little token patio area. So we then eventually adjusted pricing to that. And then the last piece on this was the location, right? This particular location, when you looked at Longmont, where this home exists, there's like a lot of density of cheaper homes to the east. And then there's density of more expensive homes in, say, the Renaissance neighborhood to the west. But in this spot, it's sort of like not a lot going on. Yeah. So from a location perspective, you're not like, you're more. How do you price this, right? Like,
right.
How do
There's
you get
not
your head
necessarily
around?
like the location premium that you would expect from like a Renaissance or the homes out east.
Well, it's just not easy. So like if you're pricing a home when there's lots of similar homes that sold in the last 3 to 4 months,
right,
and you have 2 or 3 competitors that also are similar functionally, you can then look at the factors that are local, like within the neighborhood. How is this home positioned? How is its condition compared to the others? How is its layout? And then is it updated or not? Like all of these things come in, but you already have the data set to price accurately.
Right.
If you don't have
and
the data
probably
set,
a recent sales history too. I think this one was pretty sparse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like there's no comps.
Yeah.
So if there are no comps that make any sense, how are you figuring out pricing? And we're so data driven. And I want to add one more piece that ultimately our clients are going to make the call on what to price.
Always do.
We're going to give them guidance, and then we're going to go see the competitors, and then
we'll tell them where we think it should land based on those competitors and the sold comps. But this one had all these unique aspects to it that made that particularly challenging.
So correct me if I'm wrong. We looked at this one. We were like, it's more or less like a condo HOA type of community with, I think, 2 or 3 standalone homes that reap the same benefits. We were looking at it like a single family home from a price perspective. We were looking at it from a single family home adjust for like the HOA, give or take.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one approach to pricing it.
Do you think if we had looked at it like, and I think you might have already said this, but like if we looked at it like condo plus maybe a slight premium because it's standalone, like started at the condo pricing and then...
I mean, that's certainly another way we could have approached it.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways to slice the onion, but ultimately the price wasn't really the objection. It was just the limited appeal of this type of product. The price just has to make sense. Mm-hmm. So if you're valuing a company, right, in the public markets, you can use the discount cash flow approach to valuing a company. You can do a multiple of its earnings. There are lots of different ways to value companies, and there are lots of different ways to value houses. And ultimately, the valuation is really important. It's part of the marketing strategy. But knowledge of depth of market, I think, is actually even more important. Mm-hmm. And you're relying on your agent's expertise, sometimes which is subjective, in terms of desirability, right? And some of these agents will run around and honestly underprice. Yeah. Because they don't want a 9-month listing experience. And if they sense you're not confident in the price, this is the part where I got to say, your agent, in theory, is supposed to be your advocate and is supposed to be representing you, but let's not pretend they're not representing themselves.
Without a doubt.
And if they get a sense that you are soft on pricing yourself as a seller, like you're not confident, and they can push you to a lower price, they will. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because that home will sell faster. It's less work for them. Maybe they'll even get lucky and get multiple offers, and they can, wipe their hands clean of this process in 60 days instead of 120 or 180, or as some of these listings we'll talk about, a Lodestar, over a year on market. Right?
These are many millions.
Right. These are challenging when you have a relationship that goes that duration. Philosophically, the client should be well educated and advised and then needs to make the call. Mm-hmm. But if the agent is not in agreement on where we are with pricing strategy, the agent really should exit rather than take the listing and hope that the seller comes to...
Yeah, there's got to be some point of alignment. I
mean, I've been in that circumstance where the seller wants a much higher price, and my answer has been, okay, I will agree. Okay, let's list it at that higher price. How do you feel about, let's agree on a predetermined pricing adjustment after 2 weeks, 3 weeks? If we haven't gotten an offer, can we come back to where I think the price should be? Yeah. Rather than throw a Hail Mary and just stay out there forever and nothing's going to happen. Like, we're just going to stay on market.
Yeah.
And wish or hope that the market responds when we clearly has shown you, buyers have told you they're not interested.
And it's like, this is very Hail Mary price when I have, and this particular home type, super comparable. So like, you're like, I've got 30 comps showing why it should not be this price. And you've got sellers saying, nah, 50K more.
Right. 50K more. I think that sucker's out there even after on the market 6 months.
And there is dumb money, but not typically in like the very comparable home market either.
Well,
I'm thinking like Martin Acres type of deal, but
time is the real teller of whether you're the dumb money or not, right? So if you're willing to let it sit, because this is what often happens. If you're on the buy side, you will go see a hot new listing, and there will be information shared with you that gives the impression that this thing could fly off the market tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just saw one that we won't mention the address because it's an active listing, but when you saw it, you realize, wait a minute, there's all sorts of signs of structural repairs.
Yep.
And I don't think you need to go for frenzy for this one. It might be priced right,
considering the structural. Otherwise, it looked
initially it looked low. And given the fact it has significant, and from the photo you shared, did not look like professional work.
Oh, I believe at least on the email we just got, it looked professional.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we get too far afield, that particular home, not mentioning the address, their HOA is $130 a month. They've got a pool and a community garden.
And a community garden. Well, you just gave away what property we're talking about, but okay.
You'd have to look very hard.
All right. Yeah. But that's a unicorn. Well, it's not. There's very few of those houses.
Yeah.
And I love that location in Boulder. It's super unique. And that community commons and pool thing is Anybody that's tracking Boulder real estate, and especially some of our past clients, know exactly what property I'm talking about now. So we need to stop.
Yep.
Because it's an active listing.
And I'm going to, I want to circle back to that when we cover the Peloton, speaking of like HOA dues and stuff. But just hitting that nail on the head, I think, one more time for this Hover Ridge home. There's just not a place in the MLS like search criteria. Again, like if you're looking for search alerts or something, like you have to have a buyer's agent who is actively going through homes that you would say no to and reading the listing descriptions to really understand the value of this home. Because there's such little depth of market, people have such a little tolerance, I think, for HOAs to begin with. They're just going to filter no HOA, and they might miss this home, which was great and very valuable for the HOA. Just based off of that filter alone.
At the price point, it was better than standalone single-family houses with no HOAs, dramatically better.
It was $20K less than the house that I paid for, and far less maintenance, more bedrooms. I like my location more, and there's a few other things.
I don't know what to tell you.
Different rate environment, right?
True.
I wouldn't afford it now,
True.
but like every time I was there, I was like, dang, like I can't believe it hasn't sold yet. And it's just this mental, people cannot overcome the HOA hump.
So if you're shopping, be careful buying a home like that might be perfect for you, but in reality appeals to a very small segment of the market. And the other postmortem piece on this, the big takeaway was our client asked us, so we did our normal staging consultation, which means we go through the property, we photograph it in detail, and then as a team, all four of us will create a PowerPoint presentation room by room that gives you a prioritized list of things that we think you should address, whether it's paint or decluttering or moving furniture around the room or adding a plant. That's all part of this PowerPoint presentation, and usually it's over 50.
I believe this one was like 52.
Yeah, usually it's over 50.
Right.
They're pretty extensive.
Yeah. 52 slides.
And that often acts like a punch list for our clients to then do what we've asked them to do to prepare the home for sale. And we assist with that process with contractors and so forth. But once we're live, we don't normally come back in and stage. And it was our client who asked us, is it possible to get a professional stager in?
Yeah.
And most of the professional stagers I've worked with do not work in homes that are occupied and will not work with the seller's possessions because they just don't match their design aesthetic and the conflicts between the seller and the stager. I lost a listing years ago when we tried to do this, and the seller was so offended by the advice we gave that they fired us.
Took it super
They
personally.
took it personally. And so most of the stagers I've talked to don't do this service. And it turns out that one of our stagers does. And I was really caught by surprise when I asked her, would you consider working on a home like this that has a family living in it? And she agreed to do it. So kudos to her. And I think that her suggestions really helped, actually.
Yeah.
It addressed some of the things that were, subtle, but affected emotions in the property.
Staging is one of those things where there's absolutely a skill for it. There's almost a knack. And then some of the recommendations, you're like, man, that's common sense, but I didn't even think of it. Like white linen. Duh.
Right.
But
Totally. It's an obvious one.
Yeah.
And we don't even think about it because, normally you just have whatever colors that work in your bathroom, but you're not thinking about the emotional impact of the color of the towels in the bathroom.
The psychological, however it is. But no, fantastic stager. And they did work. I don't remember if they mixed furniture with the owners or not.
They brought in some pieces.
Yeah, they did.
And the seller finally put away a lot of pieces, and that helped a lot. And finally the property closed. And so we're deeply grateful for those clients. And they were two-time past clients, and one of them said, absolutely, I'd love to work with you again on the buy side.
Nice.
So when I'm ready, I will reach out. And so that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And I think we did good work, but there were some lessons there in terms of setting expectations and being more aggressive in pricing earlier in the year, I think would have been helpful. And also checking with our stagers to see if they offered additional, although we did the staging consultation.
It's one of those things where you hear no once or twice and you're like, okay, that's just never going to be an option.
Well, the experiences have been so rough.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would not surprise me if the stager says, I'm done, I'm not doing it again.
Yes.
I mean, some of the messages she sent me from inside that house were, well, let's just say we're aggressive about whether this was going to be a successful project or not. She had her doubts.
And where it was, I think this was a longer sale. it was challenging in many ways. I'd honestly say thank you to the sellers for their trust in us. I think throughout the whole process, as challenging as it was, they still, turned to you, Osmond, for the final word and the final, your experience, and your guidance through it.
Well, it was a good transaction, and I deeply appreciated the client's trust in us. We also learned something about discount buy-side agents.
Oh yeah,
and we're not going to mention the name of the agent, but I will say that
spectrum of competency.
Just not being available on the phone, ghosting us with her own questions when we responded.
That's a funny one. Yeah,
very strange behavior.
Yeah.
And initially, we were excited that they were a discount agent because that meant more money that we actually just passed on through to our clients because we wanted them to net more, and we didn't realize how much more work this agent would create for us. But that is, so the way the listing agreement, I think we talked about this already, the way the listing agreement,
last pod, I think.
So we've discussed this already. We don't need to go into more details on the post-mortem of that property. We'll stop at this point.
And I'd say for what it's worth, and maybe like a silver lining or something for this agent, it wasn't so that they were incompetent, to me at least. It was more that they just weren't around.
I bet they have another full-time job.
Yeah.
Because they were mostly not available during the day.
Yeah.
And they asked us to do things that normally they should be doing for their client, drafting contracts. And that's
the
that
one
thing.
I was like, okay, I'll give you.
We have the resources, okay? We are well-resourced at House Einstein thanks to your participation and our team.
Yeah.
And everyone's licensed. We can do those things, but at the same time, it's a weird request. And we're like, okay, we'll write the amendment for you. Yeah. We'll reach out to your lender.
No sweat.
And we'll get the language your lender wants to fix this for you. Shouldn't you be doing? Okay, all right, no problem. We'll do it. But I will say that I don't think we will automatically be moving that commission difference over to the owner of the property when clearly results in more work. Yeah. And we can have a conversation, I think, that if we get a discount agent that's offering on one of our listings, we need to have the conversation of, okay, if this agent does their job, then I'm totally fine with the split that we'd agreed to. But if they don't do their job, then we're going to go with what the contract says, which, I mean, I just said agreed to, but really what was expected is what I'm trying to say. Like the normal split could be 3-2, 2-8, something like that. And instead, we're just going to do, like, if they off the buy side agents 1%, we're going to have a conversation at closing if you feel like that you need to get some of that back. But typically our clients are very happy. They feel like we've earned our commission. We've done good work.
And we can back that up.
And we can usually back that up. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about our tales from the trench.
Really quick. Kudos to the buyers. I personally love the property, and hopefully you are not having such a long listing period if you do decide to sell down the road. But
if you do decide to sell, you just expect it to take a while.
Yeah.
And price aggressively because you got a discount, a big discount on the listing because of the limited market appeal. And that's something you need to keep in mind when you go to sell it.
Yeah. Tales?
All right. Tales from the trenches. Hamish titled this Walk the Talk.
Thanks for calling that out. I was really proud of that.
That's truly what we wish this agent was doing. So we're in the middle of a negotiation. I guess you could say sort of. It might be a long negotiation. It might not come to fruition at all. But we identified this home as a really good fit for our client. We took them to see it, and we took them to see it twice. It's been on the market a couple of weeks, so it's not going anywhere in a puff of bidding war frenzy. It's sitting there.
Yeah.
And we took the time to deeply analyze the comps and try to get our head around the list price. And quite frankly, we couldn't. And so we decided to go ahead and submit the offer anyway. And we substantiated the offer with an analysis of the comps. And I mean, it was a bit, right? It took that analysis is not something that most agents do when they submit a low offer. We felt like it would be helpful to the seller to see where we're coming from.
This particular buyer probably wanted that analysis from you anyway, so you had it ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our clients are very analytical, and we're grateful for that. And they wanted to go through the comps. This is what I call going to the war room.
Yeah.
You tell me you want to write an offer. You love this house. Now we try to figure out, is this price right? And the price is wrong. The price is way too high. It doesn't make any sense. And we can't get our head around it. So we wrote up the offer with a cover letter that explained which comps we're using to price it. And we submitted the offer. And the response was no response, right? So when you write a low offer, there's two things that are likely to happen. The more likely response is no offer, no counter, because they're playing the we're offended card. You're too low to even consider offering
not
a
even
counter.
acknowledging receipt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, like they're just basically saying, take a hike, come back with a real offer. And the other approach is that they'll come back with where their number is right now.
Mhm.
Like what number gets this done? Because you're not getting your list price. So where are we with this? And most sellers will keep some small reserve for
additional negotiation.
Yeah, but they
rate,
have a number in their head, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm selling a van right now. It's listed at $49,000. I have a number in my head that I'll let it go for.
I'm just putting it out there, huh?
The adventure van, Ron Burgundy's on the
I know,
market,
you're
right? Like it's listed higher than I think it'll sell.
Motivated selling.
Everybody wants a discount. So when you offer low, you expect either no response or you expect their real number or hopefully close to their real number.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually encourage my clients to counter, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a cash buyer and they're analytical.
That's true, yeah.
So show me the analytical response. And the answer was no. And this is what I want to get to, okay? Which is liar, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah.
The listing agent responds that the seller has a number of opinions of value by third parties that substantiate the list price.
You're almost verbatim, aren't you?
And because I read that, because opinion of value is more of an investment banking term, so it always catches my attention because that's what we used to call our CMAs. Agents usually say CMA. Opinion of value is something that Wall Street uses. Broker price opinion is something that appraisers or reload companies, stuff like that, sometimes will go get BPOs. So this lingo is all basically the same thing. It's an analysis that substantiates the list price and eventually the selling price. And this agent said multiple opinions of value, and it really caught my attention. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I asked him if they would be willing to share those multiple opinions of value so I could show it to my client and maybe we could reach terms. And no response.
Yep. Nothing.
So a week later, I called and I got him on the phone and I said, we'd love to see that analysis. You got him on the phone?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he picks up. And we'd love to see that analysis. Like if you have that, please share it with me because it could move our client to coming up in price.
Yeah.
And
our client's not set in stone.
Our client's not set in stone. He said, absolutely. And then ghosted out. And the reason he ghosted out was because what we suspected. Because the multiple opinions of value are bullshit. And you could beep that. You probably had to beep that. Yeah, but we know it's a lie.
Yeah.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. There are no multiple opinions of value. Mm-hmm. If there were, you would have sent that, especially after being asked twice.
Yeah.
For what you claim to exist. So it's so infuriating and so easy to avoid lying when you lie about something that is so. It's just so dumb. I don't know what else to say about this. Like,
so opinions of value means something clear cut to you, and I wonder. He's like, yeah, it's just an opinion. Like he's
big
like
Lebowski. That's just your opinion, man.
He's trying to like hide behind the wishy-washiness of the word opinion, but it's
third parties, multiple opinions of value. This is verbatim from the email, and my client, of course, is very patient, and this is a long-term client. And so we've been friends for many years, and he's really astute and a really savvy investor. And he's just, his reaction was just disbelief. Mm. And I hate, this is one of the things I hate about our business is I have to continually apologize for the misbehavior of counterparties.
Yep.
I constantly have to say, I know he said he had these things, but I think he was lying, so don't expect him to come back with actual opinions of value or even a comp or two. Like, throw me a bone. What number? Like, which comp did we
genuinely?
miss?
Yeah.
Show me the one we missed.
Something.
And we know this neighborhood really well. We've seen most of these houses. We know why one's sold for a premium. We know why one's sold for a big discount, and it's just. It's just infuriating and frustrating, and it's embarrassing, frankly, when our counterparties in this industry behave so unprofessionally. So ghosting out twice. We're still trying to date this house. Like we're still. I just sent the listing agent an email this morning saying, "Hey, want to follow up on some other things. I'm not going to push on this anymore.
Yeah,
because at this point, right, if I continue to push for these multiple opinions of value, it's going to be offensive to him, right? And my job is to try to get past it. Like we're trying to work a deal.
So the ball's in his court there, but you can continue conversation on other points around the deal.
Yeah, we can talk about other deal points. Yeah. And then I'm asking for documentation about other things that they described in the listing. So we're going to hopefully get that from them. And it should also signal to this listing agent and hopefully the seller, if they get a message from this listing agent, that our buyer is actually still here. We're still serious. The home's still available. Do you want to kind of reach out and work?
Are your sellers
work on
getting
this?
kind of antsy? I bet they are. So
maybe
there's
there's additional factors to this that might.
Oh, that's right.
We think they have a buyout number from a third party, and we'll leave it at that.
In this same email, the multiple opinions of value, and I'm just looking at your reply where you put multiple opinions of value in quotation marks. He says they have 2 separate second showings today, and this was
10 days ago.
Yeah, thank you. So kind of like one of our most engaged blog articles that's on our website is the other offer fake? And well, if you end up not offering or not coming up in price on your original offer and you have 2 second showings on the same day that your offer was declined and 10 days later the home is still available.
I know. Huh.
It kind of becomes a little bit obvious.
It becomes a little obvious.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that he said 2 separate second showings,
that
it
trips
just
me up
screams
saying it.
lying. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because I years and years ago, I worked, this is between undergrad and grad school. For that 1 year between, I worked at an Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche dealership.
This is when you had the yellow Audi?
No, I had the yellow Audi decades later.
Okay.
No. I was younger than you are right now. I was like 23 years old, 22 years old, and like very fresh and bright-eyed and
eager.
Of course, and so naive about human nature. So naive. And I'll never forget I learned so much from that experience. Okay. Tons. But the manager at the time, he came in one day and we were just kind of having casual conversation because it's car sales. And he just throws out that, what he really does is lie. From the moment he walks in to the moment he leaves, he just lies all day long.
He's like, I like you. You know what my secret is? Lying.
That's pretty much what it was. And I was so shocked at this comment that even in now, decades later, 30 plus years later, this comment still, just around 30 years later, this comment still shocked me. It's such a level. I'm like, and that's what this agent, I think, does. I think this agent just lies as part of their nature. That's their salesy way of being. And they think by claiming multiple opinions of value and claiming there are multiple second showings, that will cause our client to panic.
Right.
The jump the price. They'll feel the fear of losing it.
Yeah.
And they think that'll work. And it might work for some people, particularly if they're poorly advised. But if they're disciplined, and they're experienced negotiators, they can see through this. And if you're willing to lose it, and that's the conversation I've had multiple times with this client, are you willing to lose it? And he said, absolutely.
Yep.
And I've said, great, because there's always another house, and I don't care how long it takes either. It's got to be the right house at the right time at a price that feels fair. It doesn't have to be, he's not even greedy. We have clients that are like, I want to steal the house.
Yep.
And that's a fall discount client mentality. The 3rd and 4th quarter, we're going to talk about this more in detail later in the pod, but late 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter, that's discount season. You can sometimes negotiate surprisingly large discounts in certain price ranges and segments because the seller is capitulating.
Yeah.
They're done. They need to get out.
When you were saying, I one of the things I hate about this job is I have to apologize for the other agent so often. It's wild. You've got lying agents. You've got agents that don't want to look at comps, that have multiple opinions of value, but nothing to substantiate it. And we're in rounding the $2 million price bracket.
Right.
Look, forgive me for being naive, but you would expect that at this price point, you have some genuine commensurate professionals with a lot of data behind them. Our client, for example, ready to walk, has their investment thesis, has their BATNA, everything laid out.
Has liquidity ready to buy it tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
They're liquid.
And then we are dealing with sellers and sellers agents that are just however it feels, man.
I mean, it's really, it is a fascinating aspect of this industry. And it reminds me also of my investment world experience prior to real estate. And one of the things that became very evident working for this large family office in Denver was that you only you don't look at small deals because the amount of due diligence required and the professionals that are required to be in the deal to do that need to get paid.
Right.
So below a certain threshold,
you weren't
it's
making
no
money,
longer
right?
making any sense.
Yeah.
And right on that edge, the multiples were very attractive, so that we were constantly looking for small deals that were just large enough to meet the numbers. But you're absolutely right. With 1.5 to 2 million, $3 million deals, which are very common in Boulder, you would expect a very high level of professionalism and thoroughness, an expectation that the buyer is going to be extremely thorough.
Yeah.
And instead, you get this, like, I don't know what to say, like cavalier, casual randomness that is constantly the source of embarrassment that we have to apologize for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to say that arrogantly. Okay, let me back up and stay on this topic for a second.
It's a fair point.
I feel very clearly that sometimes I may tend to sounding like I'm better, but we're just trying to do our best. I don't think I'm better than other agents. I'm just trying to do our best, and I'm encouraging you and the rest of our team to help our clients with their due diligence, to conduct our negotiations expertly, to be prepared, to understand the patterns in negotiation that are very common, and to help our deals move smoothly to closing. And also, when you're on the buy side, to select very carefully and be willing to walk away when one of those things are not right. And coming back to the price point, like our client that's in the middle of this negotiation, he's not looking to steal the house.
Right.
He's willing to pay a fair price.
He is very realistic.
He knows he's not stealing a house, especially in this market. I mean, maybe in the fourth quarter we'll find him a fantastic deal, but finding a fantastic deal is no longer his priority. Finding the right house at the right time, given his constraints, what really matters. He's got his priorities right. So
we're not posturing ourselves as better than the competition. What we are, I think, exhausted about is the lack of effort from our counterparties.
Shocking lack of effort.
It's we just want to see you trying, and that's awesome. Like, you don't have to know everything, but work with us. You know, it's these non-starters don't get any deals done.
I think it's laziness. To be quite frank, it's laziness and sort of good old boy mentality that results in this type of behavior. And it's also bad selection on the part of the seller, and they just didn't do their due diligence. They chose somebody who, honestly, there's this sense of urgency and care that I think is really important for agents to have. And they also need to have skills and professionalism, but urgency means that, like, you prioritize your clients. But is it not worth my time to write a counter and go through the analysis as we're, quote, so far apart? The answer is absolutely not. In my opinion, you should seriously consider responding unless you have other offers that are, actually real, in which case you could focus on those people, and you should.
Yeah.
Market update. Yep. Okay, let's do it. And this is in real time, okay? Unlike the generic analysis you might be getting in your email from somebody, this is real time. And all of this data, by the way, is available to your agents. If they are on the MLS, either of the major MLSs have access to the same report. And interestingly, the report updates continually. So it's not a static report. We got a static report from land titles person a couple of days after the month ended, and I appreciate it, but it's also from the same source. I thought they were using their data. Yeah. And I thought they maybe were using
their internal
county
data. Would be amazing.
And I think so you can get a direct data feed from the county. It's a little expensive. I thought that's what they were using, but they're not. They're just using the same source. So they're using the MLS, which is arm's length transactions in theory, and should be reasonably accurate. It's one of the reasons we use this data.
Something that I've started doing at closings now that I find kind of fun and interesting is closers see tons of deals. So I've been like, what are the rates you're seeing? And they're able to give you kind of like, I'm seeing this on the 5-year ARM or the 30-year fixed, and most recently around 7%. But it's just, a fun little coffee table talk, and they're the ones most, they see the most deals. So
closers are a very valuable source of information, and absolutely, we talk to them every single time to see what's going on and what insights they can share.
Yeah.
So for sure. Okay, let's go into the data from the MLS.
Do it.
Boulder County detached single-family houses, not condos and townhomes.
Visualizing.
Okay, great. You visualize that pretty little single-family house. 375 new listings hit the market last month, and that's a decrease year over year of 8.1%. And when you look at the pattern, it's very much heartbeat, right? Like the market peaked in terms of new listings in April this year. And last year, it was May. The previous year, it peaked in May. And the year before that, June 2023, it peaked in June in 2023.
Wow.
So the market, is not always peaking the same month, but April and May is pretty typical. And since then, new listings have been on the decrease. Inventory, homes for sale, 918 houses for sale, down 11.2% from a year ago. And that is pretty indicative of a market that started to swing back the other way.
Yeah.
Under contract, 268 single-family houses were under contract last month. That's a decrease of 6.6%. And closings were up 8.9% year over year. 305 single-family houses closed last month. And then let's do the price per total square foot on a median basis. Make sure I get this right. Last month, the median sale price for a single-family house in Boulder County was $330, down 6.8% year over year. And interestingly enough, there was a little bit of a spike the previous month. June had it was $369, $39 higher. Sales of the week.
Yeah.
All right.
Like nothing happened.
Like nothing happened. Nothing just changed at all.
No.
We were just on a little adventure. Had to step away and come back. So
stay tuned for
good thing for. Yeah, I don't know if that'll be a carve out. We'll see. All right. Our first sale of the week is 640 South 68th Street, and also known as Lodestar Ranch. It's an interesting property that we saw during the Hearth and Stone days, which was a luxury home tour that is no longer. And it was something that clearly was not selling. It had been on the market quite a while. And originally they did a coming soon at $20 million, which was just an astoundingly high price. And after that coming soon period ended, they relisted it at 16.5. So almost immediately went from 20 million coming soon to 16.5. This is back in 2024. So 2 years ago, April of 2024.
Yeah. And I mean, prices haven't necessarily been going upwards in the luxury segment since then. So,
well, it's when you're pricing something that is this rare, most sellers shoot for the fences. And because there aren't good comps and they have an inflated sense of its value, they really go high. And that was the case here. So the property was on the market then at 16.5 from April all the way through January, when it was pulled off the market for a few weeks. Not sure if much of anything happened at that time period. It came back in March of 2025, and they quickly cut the price to 14.8. And then weirdly, so it was on the market all summer. So this is the sort of thing that just looks erratic in terms of guessing of value. The property was listed at 14.8, and then they put it to 21 million.
Yeah, that's
why the price jumped in October of 2025 to 21 million. In July it jumped from 14.8 to 21. And then in October or late October of 2025, last year, the price was cut to 10 million. No real explanation of what's going on with the pricing. So you're all over the place, from 20 to 16.5 to 14.8 to 21 to 10, which is called, it seems like a guess the price strategy.
I was going to say, like, luxury, the luxury segment, it's kind of no secret that a lot of the pricing is aspirational. When it starts doing stuff like this, it's a really bad look, personally. And maybe I'm a little harsh, but like, you can be aspirational, but don't start bouncing around, because it becomes guess the number.
It becomes clear that the seller is not confident in their price at all, especially when they cut it to 10 million from 20 million. And it's weird that you go from 14.8 to 21. It's just erratic. And I feel that it's important for sellers to have a well-advised and consistent strategy in terms of pricing. Now, look, it could be that the sellers drove that, right? They said, my God, I got to sell it.
Yeah.
Or they got wind of another sale. They thought their water shares were worth $5 million. They suddenly thought that for whatever reason. And the listing agent said, okay, if you want to list it at 21, if you think that'll really get the market's attention, then I'll do it.
Chuck it back up.
So it's also indicative of an agent that has bad client management.
But it could also be that the sellers were the erratic ones and not the agent. We don't really know. But the house itself was fantastic. It was dated inside, okay?
Yeah.
This was...
from the exterior, too, I think it does show a little older.
It's totally old. So this is a Storage Tech, if I recall correctly. This is one of the founders of Storage Tech. And when we were in the house, there was actually quite a bit of memorabilia that related to Storage Tech's early days. Jesse Ueda is one of the other founders that I've had the pleasure of interacting with once. So we're talking about some very affluent people that were incredibly successful. These are waves or virtuous cycles of entrepreneurship that occurred in the Front Range decades ago and continue to occur today. But this was one of the trophy homes that was built in incredible land. I mean, spectacular landscape. I want to say, how many acres of land we're talking about? We're talking about almost 55 acres of land. And supposedly well protected with conservation easements, and included significant shares of water. So valuing what the water is another piece of this, and I'm not going to throw out a number, but I heard a number recently about what these shares were perceived as valued. So that was part of the transaction. But the interior of the home, like, it's going to need a complete redesign, right?
Yeah, some things are coming back. I think like the gorgeous wooden ceiling is okay. But yeah, there's just going to be some contrast changes. You know, the carpet is definitely older. That looks landlord grade by today's standard.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The vaulted ceilings are spectacular. The landscape it's in is spectacular. It's almost 12,000 square feet. It's a very expansive property. And
it is called the Ranch, right? Lodestar Ranch.
That's my recollection of the name of it.
Just like
there's a video
it's backing up the ranch name with its size.
And Hamish, I think I'll give you a link to the video. You can put the video from the first listing agent on the property, because it's actually quite a lovely video that they produced. Although shockingly low view count on the video, which Lodestar Estate, I think, is how it was described.
Estate, that's it.
Lodestar.
Well, it earns its estate name too.
Is 100% an estate quality property. So then what happens? Okay, so agent number one gets fired or left. Not clear what happened there, but at the end of March of this year, that listing agreement expired, and they relisted it with another agent in August. So, actually, it wasn't officially relisted. So that's the interesting piece of this. If you look at the current listing, it's sold. The status was just sold, right? It didn't actually hit the market. So when you look at that listing, that's the most interesting thing about this, is that there is a buyer's agent and there is a listing agent. And even though it had never officially was remarketed, separate agents, separate brokerages, I think what likely happened is the buyer's agent, the agent who represented the buyer,
right, waited for it to go off market.
No, I think they just it was a timing factor, right? And at that point, the first agent's commission had already expired. It's unclear whether this buyer saw the house while it was lit. So this is the type of thing that ends up with a procuring cause lawsuit, by the way.
Yeah.
Colorado may not be so strong in procuring cause, and I don't want to advise anybody from a legal perspective, but I do have knowledge of past deals from Nantucket where lawsuits were involved. And it was exactly this type of scenario where the buyer saw it with agent number one, being the listing agent, and then wasn't ready to negotiate, didn't make an offer, couldn't come to terms. It all fell apart, and they went
XYZ.
And then months later, the seller started to work with another agent, even though they haven't finished their marketing yet. And that buyer's agent calls the new agent and says, "Hey, I'm ready to write an offer." And so the new agent ends up selling the house, even though they didn't do all the work that was involved for the last 2 years. So that's the kind of thing that really angers agents. And I don't know any of the details.
Yeah, just from where you're sitting.
I know nothing.
Yeah.
Other than I love the house, and I also I think it was mismarketed, especially from a price perspective.
Yeah, it starts to dilute the grandeur of the house when the price jumps around so much. And I think starting at $20 million is a very aspirational list price.
I mean, people think their homes are worth a lot more than they are. That's like the oldest story in real estate.
Hey, for what it's worth, too, I mean, when are you building a home of this size in Boulder County again?
Oh, yeah, forget it. It's done. Yeah. Like, until that moratorium is lifted, which it may never be, you can't build a house like this. So, no, I think that at 9.5, I think it's very well bought. The buyers, I think they got a screaming deal. on a home that if you put $1 million into it is a $15 million property. Like, I think that range would be appropriate if it's redesigned. Like, look, nobody likes this glass block. It looks very 90s.
I hear glass blocks coming back.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, TBD on that being proven. But what do you think about the location? It's pretty close to where some of our other clients recently settled. Just off South Boulder.
Oh, it's a spectacular. Jesse Aweda's house is also in this same spot. Like, this is some of the most prime real estate in Boulder. It's pastoral. It's just south and west of Spanish Hills. It's that little green belt of farmettes, and 100% is an amazing location. Those in the know this spot as spectacular. But also, if you look at maps, you'll see there's lots of little ditches running through there. So you want to pay attention to the floodplain, and also what CDOT and the City of Boulder and CU will be doing with the flood wall, which will be in play just to the northwest of this location.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, as CU South is developed. So I don't think it'll have much impact because it's still pretty elevated in this spot. So awesome property, and a very interesting deal story. So if anybody knows the real story and wants to tell me,
come on the podcast.
Well, you're welcome to come on the podcast. We love podcast guests, and we are getting a bit of a following among agents.
We'll call it the Lodestar dissection.
Yeah, the Lodestar post-mortem. I mean, welcome the agents involved in the deal to come talk about it, but frequently agents don't do that.
Do you think there is a higher risk for kind of like a procuring cause lawsuit? Not just, I think, because of the affluence of the people involved, but more so because of I feel like the commission for an agent 100%. Is so much higher, the stakes.
100%.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a commission that's that big, it increases the pool of available money to pay for lawyers to go fight this out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of that's even relevant.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do know that if I spent 2 years working on a listing and then less than 6 months after or 8 months after we broke up, it sells. And if it turns out it's sold to somebody I showed it to, I don't know. I think there's a saying that you don't see your clients.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's right. Good business practices is to let it go and move on. But sometimes people get their egos involved, their emotions involved, and make bad business decisions because it reflects poorly on you if you're engaged in litigation with your own client. But these things happen.
Yeah, it's emotionally tolling to go through a legal process too, I believe.
And again, I'm not saying that's what happened here or will happen here.
No,
I want to reiterate
we're
that.
Beyond the property itself. Like,
it just smells like, what happened here?
From where I'm
sold off market. Yeah. Well, how would it have sold off market how did that buyer learn of it? Did they learn of it through all the marketing of the first agent for the last 2 years? That's the first question I would want to know. And does procuring cause even apply here? And in some states it doesn't. And I have never been in a procuring cause lawsuit personally. I just have heard of them. And well, this one has kind of a smell to it a scent in the air.
And like genuinely, there's I don't think you're implicating.
Okay, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
And they're great agents involved. I don't even want to comment about performance beyond what we've already talked about. So we'll just let it go. Our next two are sort of an interesting tale of two properties, both closing the same day, both closing in the same ballpark price range. And keep in mind that as buyers move up in price, they are more elastic in the price range they are willing to consider. So most of our clients that have been in this price range in Newlands, they would have looked at both of these houses and would have been comfortable at the price range of both of these houses. 3007 10th Street is the first one we'll talk about. Built in 2007, 5,500 square feet, 6 beds, 6 baths, and it was built right at the end of compatible development. That's the ordinance that came into play and restricted large houses on small lots, for which Newlands was ground zero. And it's very unlikely that you could build a house this large again. Likely they got their permits done just in time to not be restricted by the compatible development ordinance of that time period. And it's a 9,000 square foot lot, 6 beds, 5 baths, very, very nicely designed. In fact, I would say the design is still very current. It probably has had some updates in terms of paint and interior finishes since the home was built. So it looks very turnkey. I mean, that kitchen looks very trendy and modern. All the light fixtures are definitely not from 2006 or 7. So 100% it's had a lot of updates. the fans on the upper level are probably from 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
But mostly it's updated, right? I would call this home turnkey, and I would have probably asked the seller to swap out the fans personally, because that's the one thing
at this price point.
I mean, at this price point, it's like the one thing. Why do you have like 20-year-old fans that look like 20-year-old fans?
But I'd call it current, right? Current.
Yeah.
Not contemporary, not modern, but current.
Oh, I don't know. You're getting into
now
you're trying to gotcha me on
current
or contemporary. I
will. You know what's outdated is the roof color.
The shingles?
Yeah. It's got that.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
Beige is out. Yeah.
Sure. Beige is like the beige suit of
the biggest
roofs.
controversy we've ever faced.
So
that's 10.
So let's talk about where the location is. You are just northeast of 9th Street, just northeast of North Boulder Park. And you're far enough away from Broadway that you're not going to be impacted by the traffic. And Dellwood and 10th is maybe a little bit on the busier side. Dellwood definitely gets through traffic, but it's still a pretty decent location. I would call it for Newlands maybe a C. It's not an A. It's definitely not a B. It's definitely not an A. It's definitely not a B. The reason it's a C, which is passing, is that Dellwood is a little busy. But you do get the benefit of the park being so close.
I'd say you also kind of want to be west of 9th generally, don't you? Or is it?
I don't think that has that big of an impact, whether you're 1 or 2 streets west or east of 9th. It's when you get to what I think of as the waterfront, which is up west of 4th Street, where you are abutting open space. And we're going to talk about that with our next listing. Let's just talk about the price history really quick. It listed on July 9th. It was under contract pretty much right away, and it sold for $265,000 over list, which is pretty significant and likely indicates that there were multiple offers involved, because why else would you be compelled to spend that much more? And in a bidding war, we definitely encourage our clients to trust but verify, because a lot of agents are not giving confidence that these other offers are actually real.
I think our last pod, we read out their like broker and seller make no guarantees on anything to do with
anything
this listing
whatsoever. Don't believe a single thing they write. But clearly the buyer thought there were multiple offers, because why else would they go higher? And they probably were right. It's a really nice house, and it's very difficult, maybe even impossible, to build a house this large again in Newlands because of our current restrictive environment for larger homes. Let's move to the next one. 2675 Dakota Place. Its competitor. And weirdly, they put Newlands in the parentheses in the address. I don't know what that's about, why the listing agent felt the need to do that. Well-established agent, very strange. But 6,000 square foot house built in 2006. So they completed it just a year earlier than
the other one.
Right, than 3007 10th Street.
Yeah.
And this house is a completely different story. So interestingly enough, this one actually abuts open space.
Waterfront.
It is right on what I think of as Boulder's waterfront, which is the equivalent of waterfront, which is abutting the west side of open space. You're right there next to Sanitas. And it's got a decent sized lot, 10,316 square feet. It's a larger home. And the thing about this house is that it looks far older. Like the choices that the buyer made, and also the fact it likely has not been updated since construction. When you look at all the kitchen finishes and the woodwork, it screams 2006, right? So the other one had all sorts of updates.
Yeah,
and you walking in, you could be convinced it was a home built in 2020. This house, there's no arguing that this is an older home. It likely has EIFS in the exterior. Looking at the art, what the finished exterior looks like from the photos, I would be looking carefully for EIFS. So it's a home that needs a lot of updating. And it was listed in August of last year at 4.8. Nothing happened. So by the way, not a great time to list. And that's one of the things we've already mentioned, that the market's cooling in the fall, late summer and fall. We are headed into
this Indian summer of ours.
Into an Indian summer for buyers and into the winter of discontent for sellers. And so by January, they'd had enough and they cut the price to 4.4 or just under 4.4. Wow. So they took $425,000 off the price, about almost a 10% haircut. And guess what? Nothing happened. It sat there on the market until July, only a few weeks ago. and the buyer negotiated another $150,000 off the price, and it closed at 4.25. I'm sorry, 4.125. Were there any disclosed concessions? Nope. It was a cash deal. It was an EXP agent, and that always makes me laugh, but EXP, okay. And so the question for you, Hamish, which one's the better house?
Well, you know what you can't change or update or upgrade? The location. And so for me, waterfront. And also these pictures, I mean, they're fine for listing photos, but the pictures looking out over that waterfront, the open space, I almost just side with envy, but how nice would it to look into that direction, look over that open space and know that essentially there's nothing for good.
I mean, it's a steep hillside with professional landscaping, but you look out your windows and you see beautiful open space. You see nature.
And that's it. You abut open space, and, as far as your mind can think, for the most part, it's just continuous open space. It's like being actually oceanfront.
It's psychologically like benefiting. It's relaxation. Nature is all around. Yeah. And the biggest issue in Newlands is the lack of privacy. Mm-hmm. We have represented multiple buyers, and this has been a challenge for all of them, is that the price point would connote privacy, because that's something that people that can afford homes in this price range crave. It's something they desire. But Newlands, often the lots are very narrow, and they're oriented east-west, which is not beneficial for a lot of reasons. And so you end up with backyards that people can easily peer into. And I think that factor is also why the homes that are directly north of this location, the homes that are on Kalmia, the homes that are on Hawthorne and Juniper, are so valued because they have privacy and much larger lots.
Their own little kind of enclave space. Same with Fraser Meadows. If you're like, I know kind of a weird parallel to draw, but like Martin Acres, similar build date to Fraser Meadows, but Fraser Meadows has that kind of mature landscaping and that slightly larger lot to give you a more private feel versus the way Martin Acres was developed.
Homes like this will not be built en masse again. Subdivisions like this will not exist again because the dirt is too valuable. Mm-hmm. And the profitability is to build luxurious homes on very small lots. But overall, I mean, Hamish is absolutely right. The location is what drives the value here. And I think the buyer at 2675 Dakota Place got a much better deal than the buyer on 10th Street.
Yeah. And, I think the only reason they put Newlands in parentheses is because it's Dakota Place. And they're worried that somebody's going to read Dakota and think Dakota Ridge.
Okay, that's valid. That's a good point. I think you nailed it. That's the only reason why you would write Newlands in the address line.
Right.
Because when you see Dakota Place, you think it's in Dakota Ridge.
Right.
Good point.
And it's weird, but I can see why they did it.
Okay, but at the same time, give buyers some credit. Right?
Don't assume your market is stupid.
Well, it just looks really weird, and it certainly didn't help it sell faster, right? Like this thing was on the market for just under a year.
Yeah. Took a bath.
I don't know. I feel like the mistake a lot of sellers make is to conclude that the buyer is not going to do their due diligence, that the buyer is not thorough, and that they can pull the wool over their eyes. And unfortunately, it does happen. But it's better to assume intelligence, especially for affluent buyers in Newlands. So Boulder's one of the best. This is the lack of sleep talking. Boulder is one of the most well-educated cities in the country, at least when it comes to higher education as a percentage of diplomas in our community.
Yeah.
And I just assume people are really smart, but sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not. But yeah, hey, kudos to the Dakota Place buyer. Outstanding value play.
Well, kudos to both. Honestly, they're both gorgeous houses. And they, if you really want to turnkey and do nothing, which most buyers do, okay? Most buyers don't want to buy a house and then spend 6 months remodeling it.
Yep.
Then 10th Street was your house, and you're very close to the park, and
you still have the compatible development win. Right? Of the size of your home.
You still have a great house.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the better buy was Dakota Place, assuming you had the patience to do the remodel. If you don't have the patience for it, or you don't care about backing to open space, then clearly 10th Street was a better choice. But boy, you're looking at $600,000 difference in value. So for $600,000, you could do a lot to Dakota Place.
A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And at that size too. But yeah.
All right, let's talk about 160 South 36th Street in Martin Acres. The home was listed at just under 1.2. It sold for a very small premium, $1,212,000. It hit the market July 17th. It was under contract pretty much immediately, and it closed just 3 weeks later. So cash deal and no disclosed concessions on the transaction. I happen to know Martin Acres very well. I have lived in that community for many years. Don't currently live in that community, but it is a location that we track closely. And what I really liked about this listing is that it's a larger than typical ranch, but it still retained its garage. So likely it had an addition at some point in its life. And when you look at the photos of the house, it's reasonably updated. It has nice vaulted ceilings. It's got a design language that is consistent. The kitchen, feels a little small, a little cornered off, but maybe it still has decent flow. I mean, the room is opened up. It's just, I don't know about that style of cabinetry. That does make it feel a little dated.
Let me get there.
Yeah. But overall, I think this is a really lovely house for a certain segment of buyer that is growing in size. And that's typically older buyers that want fewer stairs. What I found really interesting about this, though, is that it was listed as, first they named it the Tree Door House. I don't know what that's about. It is net zero. That's definitely beneficial.
Wow, really?
Which is
They're not just throwing that around?
Tree Door House?
No, net zero.
Oh no, I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, let me read all the disclaimers and no, there are no disclaimers in the broker remarks, strangely enough, but no, there's all sorts of information about it being a net zero house, which is great. I believe it. I don't think that this listing agent would have marketed it as net zero when it really wasn't.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is it talks about it backing to directly to open space. So let's talk about that for a second. Let me pull up the map and make sure I got this right, because I don't want to misspeak. The thing about the back to open space about this property is, first, it's a riparian corridor streamway, which could potentially flood. So likely you're in the 500-year flood, but we'll double check that. But really the issue is further to the north is the former Head Start location. And let's see, let me get the map up.
That's that empty lot now with the parking lot in there?
It's the empty lot.
Okay.
For a period of time, there were random cars being parked there. It was kind of a question mark of what was happening here.
Right next to an
Head Start
elementary school.
Closed.
Yeah.
It is right next to, it's not right next to the elementary school. It's across the street from it.
Right. Okay.
And I think Head Start eventually did sell that property. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. I'm confused. Did I get the right address? 160 South 36th?
Let me see here.
160 South.
Yeah, 160
no.
South
It is on.
36th Street.
Okay, no. I was thinking it was on. I apologize. No, it is in that spot. No. I'm exact. This is this lack of sleep talking. Boy, this podcast is going to be fun for those of you first listening when I'm sounding all confused. It is right next to what was the Head Start property, and that property was, I guess, eventually deeded to Boulder Valley School District. So that's why it's now contiguous. It's part of the school district. It's not actually open space.
Still, yeah.
And if you look closely at it, that it's not connected to the school property. It is actually separate.
Mm-hmm.
So what would keep the school from selling it and developing it?
Yeah, putting in some classrooms there or something.
Or anything,
yeah.
Right? Like, the schools are pinched. It doesn't have to be classroom. They could sell it to a private developer.
And then you can backtrack but as the listing agent, you can backtrack and go, no, I mean, the space is open back there.
Oh.
Not that it backs to Boulder County Parks open space. I think that's the umbrella a lot of these agents like to.
I mean, if it's owned by the open space and mountain parks, it has a higher chance of actually being protected open space. Mm-hmm. But this is not protected open space.
Yeah,
it is owned by BVSD. Yeah.
And
for a while, it was owned by Head Start and whatever government program was running that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at it, in that area, directly behind it is a what's the zone called? Boy, this is the lack of sleep again.
Flood?
It is a flood zone. I mean,
okay.
it's a conveyance zone. So you're looking at a high risk of flood flowing through, not into the property itself, but directly to the east of the property in that
behind you,
in that quote unquote open space. So pretty unlikely that they would actually develop directly behind the house. But just to the north of that, it quite possibly could be developed, and it was at one time Head Start. So In fact, I would expect it to be developed.
Right.
Because the value of that little parcel that is to the north, it's Martin Drive, and then to the east, it's the creek. That value is really high, and that particular parcel is in the 500-year flood. So 100% could be developed and is not subject to floodplain restriction. And I don't recall seeing people camping in here, personally, but I have seen them camp in other places along this particular creek.
Yeah. I think its proximity to the school keeps the camps down. Not as a broad statement, but from a public use standpoint, that little lot of land would be great for like a lock and leave bike storage or something, being that it's right on the trail there.
I think it would be great as a neighborhood coffee shop.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
I don't think that the money side
I'd love to see stuff like that.
Maybe it could be like a Mamdani grocery store coffee shop, because the only people that have the money to develop that and sell coffee and groceries is the city.
Yeah.
Because the economics of the value of that parcel are it's so valuable that I'm talking about the Head Start parcel that how do you like if you're buying the land for such a high number, you have to develop it in a way that makes profit for the developer. So I don't see the coffee shop in its future, but I would love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
This is why we can't
in a dreams are free scenario, right?
Yeah, well, this is why we can't have nice things. Okay, so that I think does set a high watermark. I have not run that analysis myself. That's just based on my past analysis of Martin Acres,
and it's no basement, larger ranch. Yeah.
So what premium do you pay for that backyard, Hamish? You know directly behind it they can't build because it's in the flood zone unless they redo
conveyance, right? Yeah.
Unless it's high hazard, unless they do some sort of Army Corps re-engineering of Bear Creek.
It doesn't carry exactly the same premium as the 4th Street home or that Newlands home, Dakota Place. That's it, because it's not endless open space. To me personally,
you don't have views over it. It's just it's sort of this wet riparian corridor behind you, which is great for wildlife and privacy. It's going to feel very jungly. Yep.
Same with that curved kind of entryway thing that they've got going on there. As a premium,
I would pay. There is some premium to what
really
it back
10%.
10% I usually reserve for things that are protected views.
Okay.
Non-protected view
and it's not a
corridor,
view.
And it's not a view, right? If it was on the other side of the creek, which we've seen homes sell on 38th Street, that side, for sure there's a premium because you get the views of the Flatirons. But when your house is facing the Flatirons, your backyard doesn't have that view. Maybe if you went up and popped the top, but this is a really lovely home as it is, and it's net zero. They've invested so much money into it. I think that if you're comping, you have to take into account all the mechanical improvements that they made into this house to make it net zero, and they're claiming 180 grand. So even if you discount that 180 grand by half, it's still a pretty well bought house. I think they got a good deal.
Yeah. It's I mean, these no basement ranches, they're truly less is more. You're a little bit minimalist, and especially like you say, the build date, you've got small storage. People weren't quite as materialistic back in 1955 as we are today.
That's such a harsh way of putting it. Like, how about just people own more stuff today?
Yeah, that's a good, a real way of putting it. Yeah,
nobody is minimalist like from the 1950s.
No, and we're not Scandinavian either. That's a whole different tier.
But if you're interested in more about open space that isn't really open space, you can check out our YouTube video, Red Flag Open Space. It's something that can help educate you on what is and is not open space. And anytime you see a listing that says open space, take it with a grain of salt because it probably isn't. I would just assume it's not, or at least not fully protected unless proven otherwise. So write the contract maybe as if it is, but make sure your due diligence contingencies include vetting whether it truly is protected or not.
Yep. And I'll put a link in the description for that.
All right. Our next one is 3280 Dartmouth Avenue. It's a property that closed on Friday. This is formerly a daycare and had been listed with a lease in play. The property had been rented to CU students, and for some reason, the seller decided that they wanted out. And we don't really know the motivational factors, although we've heard there were other investment opportunities they were eyeing, and that's why they decided to sell it. So it was listed on June 24th and was on the market for several weeks before a lucky buyer put it under contract, and it closed on
August 7th, just last Friday. So we happen to know one of those lucky investors. I personally am one of the investors who acquired this house after asking our clients. So we have two sets of clients whom this might have been a fit.
Yeah.
But they would have needed to wait a year to occupy it because of the lease.
Yep.
Unless they were willing to bribe the tenants, which in some cases tenants are bribable. Okay, college students in particular might be bribable, but that would be a more challenging negotiation, right? If your investment thesis is hinging on that, it may not work out because sometimes parents who are actually the ones funding the rent are going to say, no, we want our kids focused on studying, not moving again. But you never know. It is worth the effort if you want to try to exit out of that lease sooner.
Yeah, it's an option.
But that year-long duration and frankly the condition of the house made it so that it wasn't attractive to our clients. And we checked with both of them before I pursued it, and negotiated a pretty good deal. It sold for $928,260. But what's not disclosed in the in this description is that included the buyer's agent commission, which we threw into the deal. Yeah. So if you're comping this, you're wondering why that deal was super low, and it was even without the buyer's agent commission. I feel like we got a very good deal for the investor.
And reasonable inspection items too.
And it's worth.
Seller was reasonable.
It is worth mentioning that. So the seller, one of the sellers in the LLC, is an individual I met years ago, and I've always had a lot of admiration for in his way of doing things, his business approach, his kindness, his positive vibes. Like, this is somebody I've always liked. And really, what's funny is I think I met him the first week I moved to Boulder.
Wow.
This is like May or April I moved back to Boulder with my, well, it doesn't matter, all those details. We'll just say I met him early when I moved to Boulder, and so I'm glad to see him still doing so well. And throughout the transaction, he was fantastic. And the agent that represented him, Miles Kunkel, also did a great job in negotiations and communications and handling the inspection objections and resolution. As we often recommend to our clients, we just focus on the big ticket items, the ones that were not visible and obvious, the ones that potentially could be expensive to repair. We pushed that over to the seller, and they agreed to address them, and they did so in a reasonable way. Yeah. Tenants seem great, and I think it's going to be a good long-term investment. I did run this one through my investment property model, and put in enough equity to make sure there's enough cash flow to cover any unforeseen expenses. And with the model, I always do worst case, base case, and best case. So if you're one of our clients, I'm happy to show you this investment model. And
very much client only.
In fact, I'll give it to you, and you can use it for your own investment thesis. But the base case is what we think is going to happen. And what we think is going to happen looks like it's better than, it looks like it's going to perform at a very attractive internal rate of return. And the worst case looks like it's going to basically track better than a savings rate. It should keep up with inflation and then some, and pay for itself.
Right.
So we were looking at roughly a 6% IRR over a 10-year hold, and if it's base case, we're looking at closer to a 12% IRR. And best case, of course, we knock it out of the park, but who knows? The lot size was one of the attractive features. It's a larger than typical lot.
Yeah.
And that was interesting from a due diligence perspective because it had been combined to make this lot so big. It probably cannot be subdivided, but those rules are still very much in play.
Very fluid. Yeah.
Our thought process was maybe in 10 years it becomes a family estate. Maybe we build an ADU and move family members into this house, and we live in the ADU. Like, we have very close friends in the neighborhood. It's a super walkable location to the grocery store, to the park, to the open space. That's the real open space that's directly across Broadway. You could start accessing that from a social trail right next to NIST and hike right up on a Kohler Mesa. It's one of my favorite spots. Great running trail.
Great point.
All these things. Doesn't have a garage, but doesn't really matter for a tenant occupied property. So we'll see. And I'm not the type of person who will actually probably sell it in 10 years, but I don't
think so.
Your investment should always have an exit strategy in it. And I like to have a holding period in my investment models, and 10 years is minimum.
Yeah. So this, I think I showed this to 2 of our 3 clients, you being one of them, the principal investor. And this home had its oddities. And the buyers, our clients that decided they didn't want it, I think were completely accurate in passing on this. It is slanted for investors or somebody who would completely scrape it and rebuild. There's going to be things that I'm sure, like a tenant wouldn't mind because they're not living there permanently, but it's something that I think it would be there are some expensive things that a buyer would want to change if they were planning on making this their own.
Like the layout.
Yeah, principally, primarily.
Student tenants love the bedrooms and bath count. 5 beds, 4 baths. Kids love to live together.
It's baller. It divides down well, so split amongst 5 people. The rent
works well.
Reasonable, yeah.
And the finishes were intended largely for daycare, so it's already been baby proofed.
It's wearable, yeah.
And so I think it'll be a good investment. It's sort of funny, and I don't know if I should say this, but I did run this by one of our close friends and past clients, and to see what he thought of it. And he's like, it seems like a great investment. It's one of those things where you do minimum maintenance to keep it going, and you hope the tenants burn it down.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Which of course you don't really hope the tenants burn it down, but you get the idea. Like
you're not hurting if it does.
Look, this property is almost nearly what I would consider fully depreciated, right? Like it's functional, it passes smart regs, it will work as a housing unit for students. And we've had great relationships with our student tenants. We warn them about the rules in Boulder. We want to be on a really positive working relationship with them.
There's a required disclosure now that puts out the rules for them to sign every lease.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that's the story of 3280 Dartmouth. And it is added to...
Yeah, quarter acre.
Yeah, quarter acre lot. Great location. Okay, let's move on to our next one. 3601 Arapahoe Avenue, D319 is our very last sale of the week. Thank you for bearing with us through this process. And it really caught my eye because, first, I've been tracking the Peloton since it was first developed, and then partially first developed, and then finished a few years later. It was really offered right at the peak of the cycle, and then the market started coming down. So the first wave of buyers saw a pretty significant decrease in their values. The Peloton is a really attractive location because it's designed from it's a very attractive development because it was designed for sound isolation from the get-go. The clients that we've represented have told me that they hear nothing between the units. And the standalone community center, 3-story community center with rooftop pools and hot tubs, it's spectacular. You actually feel like you get something for your association dues, which are $770 a month for this particular property. 1,431 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It was listed at $874 in April, and they dropped it at the end of June to $868. Not much of a haircut. And a few weeks later, it went under contract and it sold for $845. And the buyers that decided this was the one had a lot of options at the Peloton. Because, I mean, I don't know how many were on the market when they wrote their offer, but when, as of right now, let me give you the number.
Yeah, I think you said 20.
There 22. Are 21 properties on the market at the Peloton. And of those 21 properties, only 3 are under contract. So you have 18 to choose from.
How many months supply of...
Well, they're all over the place in price, right? And function. You're looking at smaller units that are at $533,000 all the way to $1.5 million units that are closer to 1,400 square feet. And when you look at the actives in roughly the 1,400 square foot level, you see there's one at 830, there's one at 839. So the person who bought this at 845 didn't pay much more than what the typical asking prices are. Yeah. And they chose one that has mountain views, but also views of the paint store and views of Arapahoe Avenue. I still think the Peloton is a really attractive place to live for adults because of the lock and leave nature, the quietness of the place, and
the community. Yeah,
the community center. You get some value, unlike a lot of associations, from that community center. And it's a location that's not that far from everything in Boulder. So if you need a pied-à-terre or pied-à-terre, how do you say that?
I say pied-à-terre, but I think that's wrong.
If you need a second home in Boulder, and by the way, it's under $1 million, so it's not subject to the
property tax,
to the vacancy, the second home vacancy tax.
Yeah, that's fun.
This would be a really nice lock and leave option. You could be close to the grandkids, or maybe you're just here for Sundance or something like that. It's a solid play. Or maybe you just want to travel a lot. That's your deal at this point in your life, and you don't want to deal with maintenance, and you don't want to live next to students in a stick frame construction multifamily housing development. But if you do want to be living next to students, we happen to know of that Gold Run 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Oh, that's true.
Did we already do Shameless?
Rehash that, because I feel like we might have done a different Shameless.
Okay, so Shameless self-promotion.
Just a
We're going to
quick,
segue right there. A 6-time past client.
Oh, yeah.
I think we already talked about it. So if you are interested in something at Gold Run, which is much closer to CU, right on the bike path, also has a community center, but is stick frame construction that occasionally burns down. It does have a history of fires.
I mean, we
do know of a really nice top floor unit with a loft, which frequently people put a 3rd bedroom into at probably a very fair price. And if that interests you, reach out and we'll talk about it.
Yep. And I guess, do we want to mention anything about the listing agent or the company that sold this 3601?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But you will notice, I guess I will just suggest that you look at the photos and ask yourself if that represents what a $845,000 home should be marketed like. And keep in mind that the listing agent, their primary mission is not marketing higher end homes,
resident
or any homes.
It's not.
That's not their bag. So maybe
they're not buy sell bag.
Maybe give them a little bit of leeway in your criticism of their work,
and that's why
Hamish is right to call out that it certainly wouldn't meet our standard of marketing.
I believe they're selling their own, and so they kind of have the tolerance for what type of photos they want to list and
you're saying this is like one of their own properties?
I think so, yeah.
Why would you say that?
Just by nature of the company.
The tax address of the property, Hamish, is Miami, Florida.
Oh, well, I'm very wrong then. And I take it back, and everything Osmond said is true.
I mean, and it has a name attached to it, Levitt Holdings.
Okay, yeah.
North Miami Beach.
No, yeah, I thought it was.
So I don't think it's one of their portfolio properties. Yeah. I think that they had the rental for many years for whatever reason, and they had the existing relationship, and that trumps marketing prowess. But hey, they got it sold. So
yeah,
and also there's 18 others that are not selling.
Yep.
So I think that they got their job, they got it done. But I think that might have to do with the size. It might have to do with so when you're evaluating condos, you really have to think about the orientation within the development. And there are some that are worth, look, the mountain views are worth more than the bus garage views on the north side. Yeah. You want the south views, even though you've got Arapahoe buzzing below you, at least you're not looking at a bus garage.
Right. Or hearing it.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't really hear it that badly because of the design, but
given
still.
the Peloton. But yeah, no. And
okay.
You're completely right.
Those are sales of the week. And we've done Shameless maybe twice this podcast. And that, again, I'll take ownership of that.
Hey, once again, guys, there's this Gold Run condo.
This is Osman at sleep deprivation, okay? Yeah. When I'm repeating myself or getting a little bit rambly.
I have no excuse.
All right, let's talk about the measures Boulder is putting on the ballot in November. There are 4 of them. There's a vacancy tax that will apply to homes that are valued, I think it was over $1 million, or what was the number? Am I confusing New York City's?
I think you're right, though.
Is it just unoccupied? Right now, I think it's just unoccupied. Unoccupied homes, owners will be charged up to $4,000. Nope, just $4,000 a year. This is so strange the way it's worded. We'd have to actually dig into the specifics. I don't know if this is accurate.
We are putting it on your radar.
But there's a vacancy tax, and that is being proposed by staff, and it likely will pass because people that don't live here, guess what, also don't vote here.
A quick note on that. Neither of us live in the city of Boulder.
Okay.
I just think it's fun.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah. And not,
although we're here in the office is in the city of Boulder, and most of our clients are in the city of Boulder. Yeah. And I only live 20 minutes up the canyon. So you make it sound like it's a dirty secret. It's not a dirty secret. I live in 4 Mile Canyon. It's not a dirty secret. Your house is in Broomfield.
Westminster.
Westminster.
I'm not in the safest city in Colorado, unfortunately. But no, good point. Yeah, it's kind of beside the point, especially you're so ingrained in Boulder and me increasingly so.
But I feel like this is an important thing to think about. Like, what is the precedent? Is that really where we want to raise capital by taxing those people that own second homes? Will that meaningfully increase the housing supply? I think it's just going to turn people. I think it's going to turn some people off from Boulder that would have otherwise bought a second home here. And the people that the price point of second homes for those people, it's just so much higher than it's not going to magically increase the middle the middle income housing market in Boulder, which is what is sorely lacking. Our missing middle is not going to be solved by taxing second homes. And I guess the problem I have with it is it's not the tax, it's the misspending. It's the way the city spends money and then looks to our residents to figure out a solution when they don't want to look at it making our spending more efficient. And it's just insanity how the city spends money. So,
and yeah, I'm just on a personal note and not really I think like I understand the reasoning behind like implementing a vacancy tax. What they plan to use the funds for is murky at best to me, and also doesn't really seem well justified. Like I understand like, oh, if we do this, then it's possible that, we'll increase the housing supply or, kind of get people that are holding onto properties to move, to get rid of them. But I don't think that the use of the money and the projected income is lukewarm at best. I just don't, it doesn't seem like it feels half-baked, this proposal. Is probably the best way I can.
Well, I think the way part of it that's half baked is it's probably going to suck us into a lawsuit that we're probably going to lose, because there's already a precedent in California where taxing second homeowners has been declared unconstitutional, or that's what the courts
it's been benched, and now
we'll move up in the court system to the next level. So likely this is where this one's going to end up. And my understanding is it's also what council has been advised, that
Shocker.
This is probably where we're gonna end up is in a lawsuit that the city will likely lose. But we'll find out, because I think it'll probably pass. It's very easy to point your finger at people that don't live here but are affluent enough to buy a second home here and say, hey, you should fork over another $4,000 to $7,000 a year. And you know what? That's trivial. If you own $1 million house, it's a trivial amount of money. It's not about the money. It's about the principle, and it's about where the money goes.
Yep. For me, where the money goes
is the biggest issue.
It's like, are we just taxing just to tax at this rate? Well, obviously, Boulder, like, there's the spending issue, and that I think gets us into the second ballot. That measure.
Moves us on to the next one. So let's talk about an even bigger number, because the tiny amount of money, $6 million is what this could raise for general spending. Let's talk about the big number, and that's the $400 million that staff would like to raise to pay for the lack of maintenance and budgeting and fiduciary responsibility that they've incurred in their mismanagement of our city's assets over the last however many years, because it's not the current staff, it's been building, they say. And now they've attached the repairs to recreation centers as part of this funding measure. So they're trying to...
it's a ransom.
It's a ransom. Yeah. If you want your South Boulder Rec Center repaired, then you're going to...
that pool,
Then you're going to need us to... You're going to have to allow us to raise $400 million in debt and pay for it through increased property taxes. And then they try to spin it as it's only $400 a year. For $400 a year, don't you want your rec center? And of course, it's a lot more than $400 a year for businesses. And there's already a lot of hand wringing over vacant storefronts. And it's not going to get better when you tax those storefronts another $1,000 a year. But the bigger issue is not about the tax. The bigger issue is about the mismanagement of our city's resources, the lack of budgeting, the lack of maintenance reserves. It's incompetence and a lack of fiduciary responsibility. That's my hot take. Okay.
So what your question was? Wouldn't you want to spend $400 million a year for your rec centers? And wouldn't you want to spend $400 a year for your rec centers? And it's like, well, I had rec centers before spending $400 a year. Why do they suddenly?
Well, they're not. Right? They're not even that old, and they need to be replaced. So this is how they've broken it out. They're going to spend $170 million on a public safety center and 9/11 dispatch facility. $170 million. Okay. $100 million on a new municipal services center. What's Alpine Balsam?
Good point.
What do we need another $100 million for more municipal services?
So it's beginning to take shape, Alpine Balsam.
And aren't most of these people working from home?
To see that. Yeah, no kidding.
Like, most of these people want to work from home. And so why are we spending $100 million on a new municipal services center? $72 million on a new North Boulder Rec Center and West Age Well Center, and $65 million on the South Boulder Rec Center. So, and $30 million of renovations to the Penfield Tate Municipal Building. So,
critics say the city is asking for too much with too little specificity about that.
Why not break it out? Why not have the rec centers be completely separate from the staff buildings? Interesting.
It is just $170 million for a facility. That facility, has to cure cancer in the same breath as 9/11 dispatch. Like, that's insane. Yeah.
I mean, we need to dispatch 9/11, okay, for sure. And we need to have, people need to have safe and pleasant places to work. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. It's putting it where they're probably trying to put it right where, right along the most valuable real estate corridor possible, which is right along the Boulder Creek path. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be there. And guess what? Most of these municipal employees don't live in the city anymore. You could literally build this in Broomfield, and they would probably be just as happy to go there because they're commuting less.
Where are we getting these numbers? And also, Boulder Creek, right? Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that being like an extremely valuable piece of real estate for them to develop on. If you are going to inject this much money into a public service or something, Boulder Creek's already pretty developed and, pretty valuable. Why don't you invest this level of money into a facility in a less valuable area of Boulder?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Like along Arapahoe or I don't...
Further east, 55th and Arapahoe. Build it out there instead of right along the most valuable corridor of real estate.
It's already been developed and already...
Well, okay, but it's already... When you keep saying already been developed, Hamish, they're not going to if they were to build a new municipal buildings to the east within the city limits, I don't think it has to be, but let's say they stayed within the city limits, they could sell that land that's along Boulder Creek. Like, they're not going to keep that building. Like, the Penfield Tate building is outdated. It's not particularly architecturally interesting, and certainly the Justice Center is really outdated, also not particularly interesting. So scraping those buildings and developing something different there would be potentially financially beneficial, especially if it was private and we could control it in a way that benefits the community as well as makes developers some money. And I'm not a shill for the developers. Yeah. I just think that location is not the location to continue. Like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that was a location. If you could get around the flood issue, that's a location that maybe made some sense because it wasn't so insanely valuable. Today, it's...
I'm misunderstanding then. I'd say like if Boulder already, then hot takes, but if Boulder already owns it, it's ripe for renovation, go for it. But don't buy new, more expensive stuff.
No, they already own it.
Yeah. Then in which case I'm like, yeah, go for it, renovate it. Personally. Because I'm like,
these are not renovation projects. These are new buildings. Okay.
Yeah.
Like $170 million better not be a renovation.
Well, yeah, good point. But like, and I also $170 million is an insane, if that's not the Penfield Tate budget, is it?
Penfield Tate is $30 million,
which is still insane. Like still a lot, like far more for like a rebuild. But I do think if the city of Boulder already owns the land, keep it. As just like an asset standpoint.
I would like to see the analysis of fixing these buildings and
without it.
Before we're raising $400 million process? For new buildings. And the really interesting thing is, this breakdown doesn't match what we were hearing about a few weeks ago, which was mostly about old buildings and repairing them. So this is just brand new buildings for $400 million. And where are the rest of, these are only 4 or 5 projects. Where are the rest of the projects?
I mean,
the 68 other projects.
Total too, right?
68 other buildings.
Yeah.
And this is where the staff I feel like they're insulting our intelligence. And this is where I feel like the people that are calling for no bailout are absolutely right. We need a financial audit of the entire city by an independent agency to see where the money's going because it doesn't make any sense.
And it's, to me, at least like, right, what you're bringing up with those other buildings and now this feels like they've got a bit of like, ooh, shiny. Like they're just switching very quickly to a different...
It's not just, shiny. It's just what can get it done. Yeah. We know the goal is to raise $400 million. That's what we're trying to do. What do we need to write into this proposal that will get voters to vote for it? Well, we need to tie the rec centers to it. And we need to make sure we mention the police building because police and fire, what are you going to do? Not have 9/11 dispatch? Yeah. I don't know what we were doing in the past to get 9/11 dispatch, but we were getting it. So clearly this is like manipulation of voters 101 by staff to try to get the money.
Yeah. And again, like these estimates are just the moon. We're in the wrong business. We need to become developers. We need to become very tight with City of Boulder staff.
I love our business and I love serving our clients. And I have no interest in being city staff.
No, city staff's developers.
Oh, well, maybe. I mean, that's a whole nother question is why is it all the same developers?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on before we end up in conspiracy corner for this. Let's move on to the next proposal, and that's higher debt limits. This goes hand in hand with the $400 million they're trying to raise in a bond issue. So right now, the charter caps debt at 3%. I think that we need to keep debt at 3%. I do not think it should always be tied to the value of the overall community of our residents. So the value of the residential property, or taxable property. So not just residential, commercial property too. I think that totally makes sense. Our city founders were right to put that in the charter rather than have it be rather than have it just be an ordinance. It's so much harder for them to change it if it's in the charter,
which is why they solidified it in the charter, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's vote no on that, and vote no on 100%. What does it call it? The vacancy tax. Vote no. Vote out of principle because of how they're going to spend the money. It's vote no for the $400 million bailout, and it's vote no for the higher debt limit that would enable that bailout. And then the last one's firefighter collective bargaining. And this is also one of those things where, boy, no one's going to vote against our fire departments, and they already have collective bargaining. This just also enshrines it in the charter.
Right.
So I don't particularly have a problem with that. I think that's a vote yes. But I will say that the East Coast and West Coast cities, our large East Coast and West Coast cities, have enormous legacy costs because of the unions for law enforcement and fire departments and public service. And look, those public service, those things are very valuable, but they also have a lot of corruption in them. And there's a legacy of corruption in them. And my only concern is, how do we prevent that from happening in our much newer city?
Some sort of caveat, right? Or it just, I'm with you. I'm like, as it is now, yes, there needs to be a but somewhere.
Yes, and how do we figure out a way to? I mean, I don't know why
protect ourselves from that.
The real question is, why do they feel the fear that this could somehow be taken away from them? That they need to put it in the charter?
Because I'm just.
I mean, otherwise,
let me give you a hot take. They're like, holy cow, the city, look at them. They're $400 million in deficit, and we're working for the city. We're going to get lumped in with them and become a scapegoat if we don't.
I think their lawyers are telling them that that's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the mismanagement of our city and wondering if they're going to lose their benefits or
favor
whatever. But I think their bigger concern is that if it's not in the charter, then a simple vote of city council can override their ability to collectively bargain. And they clearly want to continue to do that because it's beneficial to them and their interests. So enshrine it in the charter so that a runaway city council, which I would argue we're almost at, we may even have a runaway city council right now, can't take away their rights by a simple vote of the majority. Yeah. So totally makes sense. Go ahead and enshrine it in the charter. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Vote yes.
And that has been House Einstein's, the podcast, not the brokerage, voting.
Absolutely. Yeah. the brokerage does not vote, and the podcast can't even vote. So this is pretty funny that we get to opine on what you should vote for.
That's why it's clearly entertainment only.
Yeah, clearly entertainment only.
Yeah.
And if I've said anything offensive to firefighters or city staff or council, you are welcome to come on the pod. Reach out. I'd love to hear your opinion, and we will give you more than a fair shot at explaining why we've got this wrong. Reach out. You know where to find us.
Yeah. Do we want to hit this next one time-wise? And
I think we skip it. Other than to mention that the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, failed. We already talked about that last week in a vote, and the vote was split. And I don't think we need to rehash it.
But that's an automatic no. Kick the can down a year. Revisit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would have benefited a lot of the downtown owners at the cost of a lot of other people in this community.
Yeah.
In terms of control over what happens downtown.
Yeah.
And look, I want efficiency in decision making too. So I get it. You want to hold like a tight little cadre of people making the decisions for downtown. Absolutely. Only one council person. Absolutely. And I would argue that the people that live downtown have more of a vested interest than a lot of the council people. So maybe it would have been a good thing, but it doesn't matter. It failed.
Right.
All right, let's get to Carveouts, Hamish, because this has got to be an epically long podcast.
I think we're okay. I think it just seems like a lot. But shall I go first?
I think you shall.
Okay, I shall. Let's see what I've got written
Regale
down.
us with tales of your IT upgrades.
It says IT upgrades are over for now. So basically just a recap to the very long listeners here about all the networking and everything that I've done. It's a slow news day for me and my Carveout. I'll have more exciting things, but yeah, I have a Ubiquiti-based home network, so it's really neat. I've got all my security cameras set up. I've got about 60 days. No, I think I've got 3 months of continuous recording before the newest file is replaced for my security cameras. So that's really exciting. My internet is rock solid. And if it ever fails, I have 2 backup internets being piped into my router at the same time. So I'm getting an internet source from fiber, an internet source from like broadband coaxial, and internet from 5G cellular. So if any one of those fails, it automatically switches over. I've had too many outages and I'm over it. Now all of my networking things are on their individual UPS, and they're lead acid UPSs. So, not an outstanding runtime, but I'm sure down the line I'll look at like a lithium battery or lithium iron, I think it is.
Lithium iron?
Yeah, or like iron phosphate.
Oh, lithium iron phosphate. Iron phosphate. Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of that now.
LifePo.
Yeah, LifePo. So and it's just neat. Everything's kind of clicking along. My brother, I was telling him about all this stuff when I was setting it up, and he's like, yeah, I had a friend who's doing that, and he has the worst internet of everybody I know because he keeps messing with it. And like hearing that, I was like, that's not going to be me. And it isn't, and it hasn't been. And I'm just, the urge to tinker creeps in, but I've got it set up the way I want it. I'm happy. A huge shout out to that client for their donation and a lot of the equipment and knowledge. And
we have amazing clients, and they're so generous with their time and their expertise. And it's just been an amazing, what do you call it? Like secondary benefit of this industry or this business of the business we do is the relationships we build with really successful people that are very generous with their time, experts in their field.
Yeah.
All 100%.
So I guess the latest thing is the computer that I bought has now gained in value because of the scarcity and everything. It's really funny, but it came in a case that was just incredibly restrictive to airflow, and I didn't realize quite how much until I found a score of a deal on Marketplace and swapped it over the other week. But also how much louder it was. Like the fans used to just be on full tilt all the time. And I went into the settings and it turns out they were configured to be on full tilt pretty much. Like the moment the temperature went up like 5 degrees, the fans just ramped to 100. And so it was a combination of that and then the case not being conducive for airflow at all. The computer's faster. It's snappier. Programs run better. It's not constantly yelling at me with the fan screaming. So just overall, some really nice quality of life things there. And also a little update on the solar. I have, according to Excel, $500 in stored credits because I've overproduced so much. So I've done like a little bit of a calculation on like what that means.
You need to get an EV.
Yeah.
Your next car has to be an EV.
I'm well set for an EV, and I'm also set to heat my home this winter entirely off of electric
That's spectacular.
heat. Yeah.
I think that's going to pay off for you in the long run.
It's at 7 years is my IRR.
That's amazing.
If
That's
I can
great.
heat over the winter.
What EV are you going to get?
Ioniq 5 is what I'm looking at. Or actually, I might do Ioniq 6. Have you seen them? They're ugly.
Really?
And the reason I'm thinking Ioniq 6 is because they look like they were designed for aerodynamics. And it kind of, soapboxes for a moment, bothers me that cars in the future, today's the future, are still like designed like bricks. Like we know about aerodynamics and the principles and efficiency and everything like that. And in theory, we want to do better for efficiency and the climate and things, but we're still designing like bricks. It's form over function.
Do you know which automaker just hit the top of loyalty rates?
No.
Starts with a T.
Tesla?
Tesla.
Really?
Tesla is at the top of loyalty rates, even after Elon.
That's a tough swallow, yeah.
And you just drove one, and I'm shocked that you wouldn't even consider one.
No, I'm good.
Is it the social pressure?
It was, it's not so much, it's definitely partly due to the founder.
Right. He's offensive.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Roman salute thing was enough for me to be like, I'm good.
Oh, I don't think he really meant that as a Roman salute. I think he's just awkward socially and physically and says dumb things. I mean, you could see him doing that all over the Saturday Night Live thing he did years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And like, I've seen it, but I'm like, that's enough.
Okay.
Tesla also, to my understanding, isn't super right to repair friendly. And like, I'm not saying that any other EV company is, but that's, I'm happy to money wise draw my line there.
I will say I think he's a genius, and he's also offensive frequently. And he does what he does. But the product also is made by 40,000 plus other humans other than him that are also working their tails off, and it's American. So I continue to, can you get past? It's hard to get past him. That's the we bought ours before he did the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did not virtue signal with a sticker.
No.
Okay? But there was a period when it was so bad that my wife was not driving it to work because it would be parked outside.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, he got
CU.
insane about it. Yeah.
I just saw a Cybertruck parked at Santo the other day with its window, its passenger window smashed. Like somebody put a rock to that window. Oh, absolutely. Right. The side, how would it crack? Would it look like a bullseye?
Wasn't the demonstration of the Cybertruck? He threw a rock in it.
Yeah. Well, somebody was probably pounding on that glass to make that crack. It was. Yeah. I mean, people are still angry to this day, and frankly, they should be. I think he did a really bad job, and he really, in terms of communicating as well as.
I've got very little faith in the guy. Sure he's smart, sure all these things, but I mean, without going too political and everything, but like the body who was supposed to do a postmortem on Doge, for example, doesn't exist. And there's no postmortem on that, on the effectiveness of it and everything like that. And it's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can find my EVs elsewhere. I don't have to tie myself to that individual. And like Rivian's tough, especially if I'm going like on this like liberal path. Like Rivian's got this huge deal with Amazon, right, for all their vans and shit. Pardon my language, but like, it's like you want to go EV, but like, if I'm gonna do this diehard principled thing,
what, you have a problem with Amazon?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I don't know your politics. Maybe we should stop before we go down this road. I'm really, I am curious.
But then here I use Amazon all the time. Like so yesterday, these socks are Amazon.
You just hate buying. You just hate that they're the ones getting your money.
In a sense, yeah. It's like if I can help it.
Okay,
but then again, I can't help it.
You could go to Walmart. You could go to REI.
I don't go to Walmart.
You could buy things at JCPenney. Like there are other places to buy things online and offline. You don't have to buy.
Totally, and I recognize the hypocrisy there. So it's like, next car will be an EV though, for sure.
People hate billionaires.
Yeah.
Right? Our capitalist system produces extreme wealth for the lucky few.
And political power for the people who have extreme wealth.
But some of those lucky few are not just lucky, they're brilliant and have worked their tails off. And I would say Bezos, particularly early Bezos.
Yeah, for sure.
And Elon too, they've been brilliant entrepreneurs. And they've changed the world, but they also have downsides to their behavior that's somewhat ick.
And for me too, like that level of wealth buys you political action. And like, and the direction you want to steer the world becomes less so much a democracy and more like your ability to spend.
What makes you think it's never been that?
Oh, buddy, it's always been that to some extent. I just think more so now,
I think that's a myth. I think it's always been that.
Yeah.
I think that's the myth we've been fed as school kids, that we've lived in a democracy where everyone's vote counts. I don't think everyone's vote counts anymore. I think that because of the way, look, even in turn of the century, newspapers, right? Yeah. Newspapers were also massively influential in elections. Railroad tycoons, right? All of the way the country was developed and built involves extreme wealth and the haves and the have-nots and the myth,
without a doubt,
that's been fed to us that our vote counts.
I mean, our vote counts just by. I love you, listeners, but our vote counts less just because of the existence of the Electoral College, right?
Oh well, that's another topic.
I know,
and the Electoral College is not.
But just by nature of that, it's already evident there.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did it? Well, okay. All right. We're going to stop on your Carveout before we go deep down that rabbit hole.
I know. Yeah.
And I'm also playing devil's advocate. I have voted in every presidential election since I was 18 years old.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know people that complain that haven't voted.
And I have voted for Republicans and I have voted for Democrats.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important to vote, but I'm also realistic about where our democracy is heading. And I don't know if it may has always been like this. We just didn't know. Right. And some of the things we learned about our presidents and our leaders decades after they passed is rather shocking in their behavior.
I think, and also to cap it out, I have no hard feelings for any Tesla owner or Rivian owner or anything like that. But the slates, I think Slate might be the EV looking
Slate's
at those, and I haven't looked into the ethics of that company.
Have you seen
So I recognize my hypocrisy.
Have you seen the Rivian R3?
Yeah,
That little short hatchbacky thing
so
that looks
sweet.
like it looks like an old Volkswagen Golf from the 80s or 90s, and it's jacked up a little bit like a rally car.
Yep.
And of course they're like, we're going to delay production for a few more years. Like,
I know.
of course you are.
I genuinely went on their whole like loan calculator for that.
Really?
Because I was so stoked about the R3. Like I think that or the Slate. I really do think an SUV might be decent though. So maybe not the Ioniq 6. Anyway.
All right. Fun topic.
But like I use Amazon. I use all these things. Like I just, let me believe that I have the illusion of choice when it comes to my car.
See, this is all right. I'm just going to go here. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing about millennials.
Mm-hmm. Gen Z right here.
Okay. This is the thing about your generation.
There you go.
That is you hate on the things that you also spend the most money on.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't you understand money is voting, right? Like
totally.
There's this weird behavior where there's like almost like a self-hatred going on.
Mm-hmm. There is, and like Amazon is an instance where it is entirely my choice to use it, right? To a certain extent, there are industries where it's like you have no option other than to use your money on the thing that you dislike. Right. I recognize, right, like that I use Amazon while also being critical of it. At the same time, if I'm buying a car, I'm like the billboard for that brand. So everything to that as well, I think that it carries a little bit more weight. But yeah, without a doubt, there's some hypocrisy there. It's like,
let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you click the button that says product available from other sellers and see who they are?
Never.
You should try clicking it.
Yeah.
Because what you find is the same product,
Mm-hmm.
and it might be sold by a small business that's been vetted, or
And they're like drop
minority
through Amazon then?
Yeah,
or?
minority owned business or a VA owned business. You can choose the location of the seller. Like it's the same product. You don't have to go to the cheapest. You can go slightly more and support an owner of a business that might be more ethical and might pay their employees better.
Mm-hmm.
You have that choice in Amazon.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy it from the cheapest seller.
I make sure that the seller is the brand. Because I've been ripped off before
Fake.
buying,
Yeah, fake.
So that's like what I'll check. But yeah, it's because I recognize it. I also there's the argument that's like, and not my stance, but the argument's like, oh, you don't like capitalism, yet you buy things, and it's like, well, yeah. Dude, like,
I still have a budget. I still have to buy things.
Yeah,
no, I get it. That's valid.
Yeah.
That's valid.
But no, I don't know. We'll see. We are well over on my Carveout.
All right, well, I want to just hit one more little piece on your
What do you
Carveout,
got? Yeah.
and that is when we're talking about shopping on Amazon. What's really funny is that sometimes I'll go to I will often check the actual manufacturer's website, and the same product is like right now we're looking at buying a bike rack to put on top of the truck, and Rocky Mounts, I believe, is a local company. They had a store down, not quite downtown. They had a store like at whatever Spruce and 30th for years, right next to the scooter place. And they sell on Amazon, and they also have a website that sells. Their website product is $50 more.
Yeah.
And on Amazon, it's $50 less, sold by the same company. It's like a link for them with free shipping. Like, okay, well, I would like to buy it directly from you, but instead you're using Amazon
and selling it cheaper.
And you're selling it cheaper with free shipping. So I'm forced to, right? If I care about my pocketbook, to use Amazon.
And I've seen the opposite of that, which kind of makes sense. But the reason I came up with is that it's less admin for them to sell through Amazon, which it is, right? Like Amazon sets up the shipping, they're the distributor and everything. Versus if you're selling it on your website, you have to do more admin, so you price that in.
Honestly, I think they're just. This is my take. I think they're lazy.
Yeah.
It's easier to adjust your pricing. You sell so much more volume through Amazon, and so you start to ignore your own website, and you don't constantly match the prices.
Yeah.
And if they had matched the prices, I would much rather buy from the website than buy through Bezos. But if Bezos is giving me $50, I'm going to go buy from Bezos.
I'm going to take $50
right? That's
for sure.
Effectively what he's doing. He's giving you $50 to use Amazon.
On that note, really quick, I guess we're just going to keep. But the whole lawn thing, I was looking at sprinklers on Amazon because I was like, I bet you I could get like bulk sprinklers for cheap. Impact sprinklers, That one? They're so much cheaper at Home Depot in person.
Yeah, some things are cheaper in person.
They're so much cheaper.
It's interesting.
Like 3 times cheaper.
Those asymmetries exist. It's the laziness of buying it on Amazon that sometimes there's some weird profit built in. Yeah.
I couldn't stomach the cost. This is why I was like, what is the price at Home Depot? Yeah. So it is, you have to look around.
All right, we'll move on to my Carveout. I think we gave Hamish quite the Carveout.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna preface this, and I'll try to do this quickly. This did not originally come from me in the way that I'm going to talk about it. For many years, most of my life, I've been a journaler, a writer. And in the last 5 years or so, I've really shifted my writing towards focusing on positive things in the future, and I've got a whole structure for it. But one of those structure items is what's coming next. I write about what's coming next, and also what would be successful today. And the reason I've done that is I really want to focus on what today would feel like a win. Like, how do I, at the end, so one of the hard things about this business is that you have a boss, but most agents do not. Yeah. And so how do you know you had a good day today? You don't get validation from your boss or your coworkers necessarily, and you may or may not get validation from your clients. And if you've got good clients, they will give you validation, but most clients don't know how to measure your performance. So they also are not giving you validation. And so you basically are in this isolation as an agent where you have to decide what made today successful or not.
Set your goalpost.
And this has changed my life by focusing on what today's success is and doing that repeatedly, consistently, or as part of my morning routine. And the other day, a friend of mine and also an agent and also a coach and also a very successful entrepreneur here in Boulder, I believe he's one of the owners of Remax Alliance. He might be the owner of the franchise, but he wrote on his Facebook wall, I was reading advice from a coach this morning and it really hit home. Vision boards and goals are great, but they don't create momentum on their own. At the end of the day, it comes down to one simple question. Did you win the day? Did you work out today? Yes or no? Did you eat well? Yes or no? Were you actually in business today? Did you talk to clients, prospects, and provide value to the people around you? Yes or no? Did you become a little better today, or did you simply pass through another day of your life? The person who wins the most days wins life. It's really that simple. So yes, vision boards are fun and a valuable exercise. Just don't spend the whole day making one and forget to actually win the day. And I couldn't agree with that more. In fact, I don't know why I didn't like it. I'm going to give him a like now. And a shout out to Greg Smith for that inspiration and also alignment. I think we actually align on a lot of things. He often likes when I post analyses on the market, and I like his advice and coaching and mentoring too. I think a lot of agents are not getting coaching and mentoring in the industry, and it's nice to see a successful. I don't know if he's technically the employing broker, but certainly one of the principals at Remax Alliance, also encouraging his team to go out there and win the day. It's a day by day business. It's the day by day life. It's not by have the vision board, absolutely have the big picture. Think about the big picture, but think about what wins the day. Today.
The vision board, it reminds me of like a New Year's resolution where it's like, this New Year's, I'm going to go to the gym. Okay, but how are you going to actually do it? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, so a few years ago, I started doing Tim Ferriss's past year review. Have I talked to you about that?
I think so. Every New Year.
Every New Year, you get the spiel. Do that. Probably. Don't do New Year's resolutions. Do a past year review.
Yeah.
And put those things on your calendar now.
And now it's pre-mortems as well.
Pre-mortems. Oh yeah, pre-mortems are another Tim Ferriss. I love pre-mortems. Yeah. Those are great. We should talk about those more when we start the journey with clients.
That's definitely.
I don't know if it's appropriate for podcast fodder, but for sure for our internal workings, pre-mortems I think are very useful, especially on the listing side. On the buy side too, but the buy side is more dynamic, and the listing side we're selling something.
Yeah, a buy side we could do it just to do it because I think it is so get them a house. Anyhow.
All right. With that said, you have squandered another 2+ hours with us on the House Einstein podcast. We deeply appreciate your time, your listening, your watching us on YouTube or many other platforms that we've pushed the content onto. And we always value your questions and your feedback, whether that's delivered publicly or through the messages you all send me privately. I do read them, although I can't respond to all of them. And thanks again for joining us. If you'd like to learn more about the House Einstein brokerage, you can find us at houseeinstein.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Take care.